Wonderful good evening to everybody. Welcome to Zelda Speedruns and welcome to the Ocarina of Time Randomizer Standard Tournament Season 6. It's lower bracket round 2 and it's a great match of big magnitude with long-time players. It's Soli versus Marco with wonderful commentators in Ginger Sonny and Yoshi Kion with alongside our trackers Aisling NX and Palm. Take it away, it's all yours.
Hey, how is it going this evening?
Hey.
Hey.
I have been counting down to this match. This is
Oh, me too. This is gonna be quite crazy, I think.
this
Marco,
losers bracket is stacked.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. You don't want to fall down to losers bracket. But I mean, the entire bracket is stacked, to be fair.
Oh, for sure, but yeah.
Yeah, Marco in losers bracket round 2. One of the surprises of the tournament, I would suggest.
I think, yeah, so Soli went to losers round 1 and took out Goomba, who I think was someone a lot of people had as, you know, a potential favourite to take the tournament, even.
Dark horse, for sure.
And then, yeah, Marco taking a loss to Ryukane. Both of these runners have been around since pretty much the start of the randomizer, not long afterwards, at least.
Very experienced.
But somehow haven't run into each other directly yet. No head-to-head record to speak of, so be interesting to see who comes out on top on this one. And I think the biggest thing to note here is obviously, you know, I think most people know Marco, long-time speedrunner of the game, been playing a randomizer since Season 1, is one of the highest execution players there is in this community.
Very
Soli
much comes from the sort of speedrun side. Like, it's very.
Soli, on the other hand, kind of, I think, has flown under the radar for a lot of people. Incredibly good on execution, but more importantly, develops strats like nobody else. Soli has developed so much in this game that people just didn't even think of. And is the kind of person who will just dive into practice ROMs, different strats, different setups. So,
well,
yeah.
We are about to start, in fact. As the saying's been scared of Soli since SGL 2019. That makes sense. And it's child start in Kokiri Forest. An immediate divergence. We've got Marco going straight to Memory Game and Soli going straight to Temple of Time.
That is an interesting one. Starting there, I mean, I guess depending on where you pick up your songs here, and like, there are a lot of items that make Lost Woods better.
Cactabongo. Gerudo's a piece of art. Skullmask is dead. Flames in the Royal Temple. Flames in the Temple were something.
Flames in the Tomb were fire arrows, so
Fire
I guess
arrows.
you need Dins.
Yeah. That's one fire source looked.
It's your first fire source 100% of the time, yeah.
So I imagine, I guess Soli's thinking is maybe do some market checks. If I pick up a slingshot, then I can do target in the woods. But
yeah,
Marco
I guess it's like
go for the more classic route of them.
Explosives in particular are the big one. If you get, if you're able to pick up these grottos on the first path through your Lost Woods, that's really nice. Something like Sarias or Minuet can help as well there. But and then obviously Kokiri Sword makes it far more worthwhile to come back to Lost Woods immediately.
Yeah, for sure. It's very interesting. This is the immediate divergence. But the long play, I absolutely don't mind at all. 2 checks and a song. Versus Marco realistically only be able to get 1 or 2 maybe checks and a song.
It won't make a world of difference as well. They'll both do both. It's just a question of like those little things that might give one an edge on the other in this pathing.
Alright, well, we've got Saria's very early. That's vanilla. And market to Twin Rover, so maybe Soli should have spent more time in the market, perhaps, but that's information Marco has. I'm going to get some hints here from Marco as well.
Goron? Pot is a strength upgrade?
Strength on pot, yeah.
Alright. Oh, and
And again, just in
Sure.
case you missed it the first time. This is the thing. This is where the trackers and ourselves and the chat are going to come in handy, because both these runners are going to be displaying the message for maybe 2 frames at a time, and then that'll be that. So have to keep your eyes open. There's our other Cactabonga.
just the one in my dose today.
Oh hey,
Mirror
Mirror
Shield,
Shield though.
nice.
May or may not need that, but it's good to have. Don't need to buy a shield later.
It's also just one of those ones that very easily becomes the last item you need, and you're hunting down the entire seed because it locks so little. You're just hunting down the whole seed for it.
Oh yeah, as I say, a market's Twin Rover, so it is absolutely required.
Oh, true.
Yeah, so we know one of our medallions is Spirit, and we
And
know
you've got to
Shadow is
assume-
the other one.
You've got to assume that Goron Pot is available fairly early most of the time. So it's... and we already have the Mirror Shield, so it's really likely that that market is just another strength upgrade.
Mm.
Not 100%. There are obviously other options, like something that locks Requiem, or needing a fire source to get a key or something along those lines. But
Yes. I'm noticing while Sully's heading off to Kakiri, but the betting in the chat is very one-sided. A lot of money down on fake money down on Marco to win this one. About 5 times more, in fact.
I feel like in part it makes sense. People, I've never seen anyone do that. That's so good. Sorry, Solly peeking the Kakiri Sword chest from the back there is actually... That's
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never
way
seen that.
faster.
Yeah, I've never seen that. So this is what I love
And-
about.
You're right, I
watching
guess...
2 top runners like this. You
Yeah,
see
this kind of...
things.
It goes back to what was being said, but as we see, 50 is a bomb bag. And a hook shot. Okay. Yeah, kind of takes us back to what we were saying earlier, in that Solly is the innovator here. Solly is the one that develops a lot of strats, comes up with a lot of these ideas. Marco is the established hand in the community. His execution will be on point. You know you are losing. If it's a strict execution, if this turns out to be a 100% do everything or a linear jet seed, Marco probably wins against pretty much everyone.
Pretty much everybody. Yeah, I would imagine so. But you're not going to get much better if you'd like to see slick execution. Then Marco is your dude when it comes to watching Randomizer. But like you say, it's interesting. Soli was the one who likes to develop the new strats. Oh, here we go. We finally get our medallions. We've got Water, Spirit, which we already knew, but we know that's the
Spirit?
Forest Temple now.
I saw Shadow, which we already knew, and I saw Jabu, but we will get that
Yep.
up on the stream in a
We
second.
had... That looked like Water? Yeah, Water,
Oh, so it's just
Forest.
the freest all dungeons ever.
Yeah, we all Deku, DC, and we started with a stone. So, okay, interesting.
So there's kind of 2 ways I want to, like, there's 2 ways to approach this, importantly. A lot of people look at it as all dungeons means it's high execution, therefore Marco is favoured. If it ends up being all dungeons, Marco is ahead. But the routing around it is really important. Marco skipping the market here is surprising, and that's the kind of thing where Solly can just be potentially more efficient with this early game routing. So even having to do all dungeons, there are ways to do that more efficiently and with better routing. It isn't just do everything, it's execution.
For sure. And yeah, like you say, that's probably Solly's best chance. I mean, it's not to put shade on him as a runner execution-wise either. It's just Marco is sort of in a tier of their own, if that makes sense.
Right. Both are very good at all parts of the game. They've been mainstays of the community for such a long time now that they have to be, almost. But Marco is typically more execution than routing, and Solly is typically more routing than execution.
Marco is Marco, as Thunder says. Yeah, he is who they are. They are who they are. That's for sure.
I've mentioned recently I've developed like a stat sheet of tournament history. Marco's total tournament record in OoTR is 42-17 in just head-to-heads.
That's
like,
incredible.
75% win rate, roughly. That's unbelievable. And yeah, 23-10 in major tournaments. It's like just an incredible record. Soli's actually is really bad, but Soli's had a shaky history with the official tournaments, so...
Well, I mean, I was looking at last year's, and like, yes, last year he wasn't in it for very long because his opponents were Sazy and Cola. So it's sort of like, well, okay, you know, they can beat anyone on their day as well. It's like not really a fair representation of a Soli skill.
I know for a fact as well, and this is, I think, one of the biggest differences that can happen in these tournaments. Soli is somebody who gets hit a lot by tournament nerves.
Mm-hmm.
Has had a lot of issues in the past in major tournaments because of those nerves and because of that pressure. Marco, having been not just in Randomizer, but in OOT speedrunning for as long as he has, is used to that pressure a lot more. And that is definitely something that could make a difference.
Been there, done that. It's pretty chilled about it. You know, knows how to control those nerves, I should say. Sort of channel them, probably, a little bit better. But that's something that obviously, you know, does sort of come, I believe, with experience. And I think if Soli actually gets a good run in a tournament, hopefully that'll sort of help a little bit with the truly believing they belong, you know.
So, we had a Kakariko to Bongo, and the market to Twin Rover, and we just found a bow there that Marco has missed out on. There is a not zero chance, like there's a reasonable chance here that Kakariko's shooting gallery has something like a fire source, like magical dins, and that is both your path to Twin Rover and your path to Bongo covered.
Yeah, you don't want to be missing out on that. If that is indeed the case, that's really, really important. And Marco skipping the child market could cost him, but...
Oh, and there's the magic, though.
Oh, right. Well, there we go. Dompe actually... Dompe useful today. Triss would hate that, but it is what it is. And this is a Valley Lake play, which I love a Valley Lake play, so I'm very happy to see Soli doing this.
Yeah, that is... I'm surprised to see it, but...
We're not S4, you see, so it's... S4, it was a B play.
100%, yeah.
Rushing River seems to be a strong play this season, from what I've seen.
I think, yeah, the information is just so good now, and the fact that Frogs 1 has become a sometimes hint just means there's a really good chance that, yeah, you go River early as adult, and you're not penalised for missing out on the Frogs check there.
Exactly. Right, well, Marco now coming back to do market. A bit belated, but it's going to find that though. More money for Soli. Soli really collecting the money at the moment.
Marco, I'm surprised to see Marco kind of going back and forth already though. This
Yeah, that's a lot of age changes already, which... And one save reset as well, which obviously being on VC, all of those are sort of small time. That is
What is?
Is that light arrows? It must assume it's light arrows.
I just thought it was a rupee, but...
I thought it was a huge rupee as well. I guess can't afford for it not to be.
It's a big
po ball. Wow,
Oh,
someone
wow.
in chat with great eyes went to identify that as a po ball. And we know Minuet is on Burning Cack, so... Okay, well, good thing we got the Sarias, logically. Marco playing having heard this song, probably I would say tens of thousands of times. It's pretty good at shield flicking along to the tune. But yeah, that's good information, knowing that Minuet is probably out of not our logical way. And the chest in Gerudo Valley we know is a piece of heart. Yeah, no, Sari's was vanilla. Which you don't see every day either. I haven't seen a vanilla Sari's for quite a while. What is that?
I have no idea.
It didn't look like a rupee. But beyond that, I have no idea.
Yeah, I've started playing VC recently, and so I'm getting the VC eyes. Can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
My general assumption is if you can't tell what it is, it's probably important, or it's a Deku Stick or arrows, because those two are just so thin that you can't see them in a lot of places.
You don't want to assume it's arrows and it be something important, but likewise, you don't want to think it's important when it isn't. So it's one of those tricky ones. Chat's kind of going for arrows, sticks, or maybe a slingshot. So we're kind of along the lines of us. No one's really quite sure. I guess only Sully knows. Got our first fishing of the day. It's nothing.
Oh, and Marco walking out of Lon. That's something you don't actually see. I, at least in the past, I've been a fan of this. Less so in this season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people really estimate how long this takes. It isn't that slow, but it is still kind of slow.
I mean, if he's thinking Valley Lake, then considering the spawns and the songs, this is the fastest. But it's still, and I guess Marco already knows where Child Spawn is, I imagine. So no need to check that. So I guess it's sort of, yeah, here we go. Let's hike all the way to Valley Lake. Yeah, a bit of an old school strategy that. Like a couple of seasons ago, that was definitely the thing, and then some people just hated it. Ryu Kane famously, I believe, despises the Valley, hates to go there.
I think Valley has had its moments. So in season 2, it was the play. Every single person did Valley Lake, and if you skipped it, it was a risk.
That was it, yeah.
And
chances are you were probably losing.
Yeah, it's as it shifted to season 3, which was the same format for the most part, very little changed. But people just figured out the game so much more, to the point that by the time season 3 rolled around, doing Valley Lake was the risk.
Yeah.
Season 4 kind of brought it back again, because it was so bottlenecked early. But I think since then, I think outside of season 1, season 2, and then season 4, I think doing Valley Lake has generally been considered more risky than skipping it.
Here we go, let's find out if what we found in Valley was any use. Sort of useful, I guess. Let's give this logical Goron tunic for fire if we want. And if desperation strikes, an explosive source from the Bonchu salesman if we collect all the rupees.
That is true, which does lead to a strength upgrade.
In fact, indeed, it does, yeah. So that may actually be well worth it.
Don't know a way to get there just yet, but all it takes is one of 2 songs. Definitely not an unreasonable one to do.
No. Alright, Marco going to pick up that big po ball as well.
And you mentioned earlier the new play of this season is that early adult river. We're seeing it here from Soli.
It used to be a bit of a French meta last season. It was that's what a lot of the French runners rushed river quite early. But now it's definitely this season has sort of spread. And is that Ruto's letter, in fact?
Ooh.
That may be worth right away. Looks like it, because Soli's doing the setup. Now, I'm not a fan of this jump either, Verison. I prefer jumping from the other side. from up near the Gossip Stone, but if you can get this lined up, it's not so bad.
Definitely a harder one on emulator than it is on VC, I think, as well.
Yeah,
Or
no
at
pause
least-
buffering.
Yeah, depending on your controls. I know, like, a lot of the enemy players say that their controls are not good for those ESS turns, and
It
yeah.
can definitely make a difference. It's like very small differences, but actually can lead into big. Oh my goodness! Back of lake hints from Marco.
This is the season 2 meta. We're in season 2 again.
Yeah, this is. We're seeing. I mean, these two are. Oh, there's another bottle. Delicious, nutritious milk. I mean, these two are. I've been in the community since, as you say, Marco's been racing since season 1. It's solely not that much beyond that either. So
And
they're
right,
putting
so
out
for what
a lot of it. Oh shoot, the sun is dead. We know that much now as well.
saying this is the season 2 meta, you know,
30
Soli.
iron boots. Oh my.
Oh,
Oh.
nice. Yeah, no, back in season 2, Soli qualified 5th, but then didn't take part in the tournament.
Mhm.
And Marco won season 2. So yeah, no, this season 2 meta makes perfect sense for these runners.
We've gone
Soli-
back in time, everybody.
Soli taking damage from the Octoroks here so that he can get to the top, look at this item, probably
And
get
then-
the hint,
Death Whop.
and then just take a death to get back to the bottom again.
Interesting choice. I quite like it. It's not one I would have necessarily. 40 is for Goron Tunic, so we know it's not 40 because we've got the wallet. But those iron boots on 30, and that bomb bag on 50. It's not gonna. I think it's the bomb bag on 50. We can probably write off. But that 30 irons. If we need central pillar, we're gonna need to collect 30 skulls.
This death warp from Soli is ingenious. I've never
great.
seen someone
No.
do that, and that's incredible. He actively took the damage from the Octoroks on the way
Full
up
damage onwards, yeah.
to get down to half a heart, to then take the full damage at the top of river to get back to the bottom immediately. That's incredible.
That's wow. I mean, this is why I've been looking forward to this for so long. We're just going to see so many new things. So many. I mean, I've been excited for ages, and we've already seen some new things that I've never seen.
This is the thing as well, is you say to people like, oh, it's a death warp from like top up to bottom of river. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But nobody thinks to do it. Like, Soli's approach to this game is unlike anyone else, and yeah, they're absolutely one of the most fascinating runners to watch for that reason.
Yeah, as Chat's pointing out, though, I did give up on the Ruto's letter. But I didn't quite get the jump. Didn't want to waste any more time on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have to come back, presumably, maybe as a child after the explosives, and have a go for chicken.
Mm-hmm. And yeah,
Marco
like,
in. Oh, no,
I was just going to say, assuming Soli's not going to go for the letter until having a boomerang, potentially, then you'll have to go there as child with the boomerang anyway, and at that point, you know, it's easy to grab.
Yeah, exactly. Long shot on adult shooting gallery. Okay.
Now, I mentioned earlier that could have been relevant for
And that was
Spirit
like
logic.
Was that GTG to Phantom Ganon?
It was, yeah.
Okay, interesting. So we've got a horse at least.
Wait,
No, we don't have a horse.
the
OT is.
Phantom... Oh,
OT
OT's
ZL. Well, it's a good thing we've got this this layout then, isn't it? Deku DC.
So I want to touch on something quickly. We know that Goron Pot has a strength upgrade.
Mhm.
We have Gerudo Training Grounds to Phantom Ganon, and we already have a hookshot and a bow. Is first bomb bag in GTG then?
Wow, would be unusual, but I can see it. Marco
Like, that's-
pick up big stabbing
Yeah.
there as well.
So yeah, we're 20 minutes in, and we know that at the very least, 30 skulls required for the iron boots, all dungeons required, because Zelda's Lullaby locked behind your stone dungeons. And there's a bomb bag on 50, but I think it's reasonable to assume at this point that that bomb bag is locked by explosives logically.
Bomb bag on 50. I like it. I like it a lot. What is this seed?
It is possible the bombs are available, and if that's the case, it's even funnier if you go over to Gerudo Training Grounds, like, okay, I'm gonna get my explosives here that'll give me my strength upgrade, and you go in and you get, like, the boomerang.
Oh, no.
And it's because it just puts the 50 skulls into logic or something.
Marco going quite early then on some of the skull collecting, getting them while they're there, instead of using them as their last skulls before 10, just sort of picking up the night skulls while they have to be in cack. Lost Woods to evolve.
Did get a hookshot there, right? Yeah, hookshot was on the scrub by the bridge, so... Not super surprising. A lot of the game is hookshot locked.
Yeah, we are going to need to collect skulls, and we do have a AD for ZL, which we're going to need to find a Kakiri sword somewhere pretty fast, and some strength, and some explosives. Or just some explosives. There's Dins on the
Dins? Okay, so that's more likely the path to Twin Rover so far. Also, yeah, being pointed out, the hooks didn't lock each other. One was locked by the bow, but that was in market, so it would have to be Longshot for Evolve, which, yeah, not super likely. Probably looking at something else in Lost Woods at this rate. We already have so much to work with, and yet not anything useful. This feels so narrow, but there's so much at once.
That's right, yeah. It's there's a lot of potential options. Also, chickens are dead, so we're not going to be seeing those.
Oh, Lost Woods Longshot. That is true. We do have Gerudo Training Grounds access to get, I would assume not strength, but I would assume first bomb bag that then gets you the strength in Goron City, and what that essentially means is that your Longshot locks near enough the whole seed, if that's the case.
Yeah, I can see that being the logic trail. I definitely think bomb bags and GTG, big possibility. For that strength in Goron City, that's just me. That's another bottle on top of DC.
Did not even see the chest there.
It's just for 1 second.
Some of these peaks are so fast.
Yeah, it's because these players have practiced so much, so they know exactly the pixel they're looking for, and that's all they need, and then they're gone. To train themselves. Yep, gonna go pick up that bottle. Just a red potion, but more bottles the merrier. So they're already on 3, and they don't even have the Router's Lair yet, which we know is 100% on River. Marco.
I'm really interested to see where Marco goes here, though, because nighttime means that he won't be able to get that long shot on the shooting gallery.
No.
So we'll follow Soli up Death Mountain here, and just kind of playing a step behind right now, although having Dins from Richard is a pretty big deal.
Especially with early magic, it actually makes it usable. Although the things we'd be using it for are not necessarily things we'd want to be, but we're going to have a peek here. This is one I can never tell.
Too
No
dark.
idea.
I did not see a thing. So the thing I've always generally been told, and like, it's a lot harder when you're on commentary and you don't know what specifically you're looking at or like where to look. But the thing I've always typically gone with is, if you can't see anything, that means it's probably not relevant. If it was a big chest, or if like it was a golden texture, it would stand out. You'd see it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell. You can always tell if it's a rupee, for example. Yeah, that's good. You know it's dead. But anything else, it's a little bit sus. Like I
know,
thought the in the fountain and the waterfall was light arrows or gold rupee, and it turned out to be a big bow. So that shows how good I am at spotting things.
I know the one that I remember talking to someone about very specifically was like you can look at the right hand of the spirit temple in the Desert Colossus, and it's like, okay, you can just look up and look at the chest, and if it's small, you can't see it, and if it's big, you can. But then it's like, if it's small, you kind of don't care if it's a key or just a dead check. It doesn't matter. It's small. You just skip it.
You just
and so
skip it. Oh.
You can look through the wall to see it instead, but like, why?
Right, if you're already sort of basically there. Marco, unusually, a little bit of execution myth lapse, missed getting Link Vigoron with the bow there, so going to go back and do it the more old-fashioned way. All the way up to 10 skulls though as well, which Marco deciding, yep, I'm going to need those iron boots. Almost certainly going to need them. I'm just going to rush skulls.
I definitely remember a race in... Ooh, what was it? Season 4, 5? One of the two. It was Marco versus Elweird, I remember that much. Where 40 was a hinted bow, and they got the hint incredibly early. And Elweird just kind of skipped it, thinking, you know, okay, there's 2 other bows, odds are you find another. Marco immediately just went straight to it, no hesitation. So it definitely has a history of like, if you see there's a required item on skulls, Marco will just get it. No, not this whole like, maybe I don't need this copy and maybe I'll find another one. Marco will just do it.
His skull routing is so strong as well. But again, it's another one of those ones where if you know it's a race to 30 or 50, Marco's probably going to beat you at that race. He'll probably get that item for you because, again, the execution, sort of knowledge of skull location, all of it sort of adds up. Nothing in the crater as far as we could tell, although I can't tell what's on top of Volcano.
Yeah, and I didn't see it on Soli's side either.
Again, it's for something dark. We know that much. It's not shiny, but whether it's anything useful, we'll just have to wait and see.
This is Soli's first time checking these hints, so finding out now that the Goron pot is a strength upgrade, and that makes that part of Phantom Ganon suddenly a little different now that you know that it's not just strength over in the training grounds, but something leading to it. At this point, Soli's probably considering that Gerudo Valley to Fortress play a little more.
Just an instant Bolero? Nope, it's not Bolero. We're going to the lake.
I think this is probably a long shot over to Gerudo Fortress.
I think you might be right. Maybe finishing setting Pierre if they've been done a Pierre already.
Right, because Soli did Valley Lake, true, yeah.
And then yeah, into GTG I can see.
And yeah, if that's the bomb bag, great. And if that's something that puts the 50 skull bomb bag into logic, that's probably still good. You probably still need, you know, what would it be? A hammer? A boomerang?
Yeah.
These are all items you will need at some point. You're not going to be disappointed to go over there and be like, oh no, I only got my boomerang and I wanted bombs. Like, boomerang for Soli at this point is amazing. He gets to go and beat Jabu.
That's right. Yeah. Meanwhile, Marco is dipping into Forest, which I guess chat's surprised Soli didn't do that either. Since they were right there, you can just dip the courtyard, get a free skull, and it's a big chest even.
I was going to say,
in the lobby.
I'm more surprised at doing forest than skipping it, but yeah,
Oh,
Marco
there's
definitely being
Kiri's
rewarded
sword.
for that one.
That's one step towards the AD.
A lot of checks as well.
Good point for serious business, yes. Marco doesn't have the long shot, so
True,
GTT
yeah.
is still not an option for them, so it makes 100% sense to to go into forest. Also, as well, no minuet, so you can't exactly walk back here.
True, although
Yeah.
Bolero, not too bad a walk
Not
for
too
forest.
bad, true. But yeah, minuet behind Burning Cack, kind of pointless considering that we'll have to beat forest before we go.
And with the hints that and so admittedly as well, I think Marco doesn't have the Phantom Ganon hint because I think that one was in River, which Marco hasn't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, from Marco's perspective, he could find a strength here. We know that that's just not going to happen given the hints.
Yeah, at the moment, chances are you probably won't find anything here. And yeah, no strength means he's not going to be able to go very far anyway. We can definitely do a few checks in the courtyard. Oh, Thunder pointing out that Marco
okay.
got the hint from Open Grotto, so does know. Okay.
Missed that one. Fair enough. In that case, yeah. In that case, I'm really surprised by this because no matter what, you're going to have to come back to forest, right?
Mm.
Either with strength to beat it or, well, as in, Soli leaving and not checking forest will have to come back anyway with no minuet. But Marco will also have to come back with no minuet because you know you're not finding strength here, so...
Yep.
It might be early to say this, but right now, I want to give the edge to Soli. Like, this feels like it should lead to something big.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's incredibly early, so just how big is the question and kind of where it swings from there.
Yeah, that time of day in CAC so far is the sort of big difference. Not getting the long shot. I think perhaps if Marco got the long shot, we wouldn't be seeing all of this. However, Marco is chasing skulls, so from his perspective, it's never the end of the world because there's some nice easy skulls that you can collect. Whereas Soli not really chasing the skulls, at least not at the moment. Inko reckons there's 37 skulls in Logic right now. So
I think
we logically could get the Iron Boots.
I think the thing with skull routing, especially for something like Iron Boots, is it won't lock much. It doesn't do much on its own, especially as a light medallion water. So you can just take all the time you need, pick up the skulls that are nearby in dungeons, and you're not really... It's different from, you know, a hook shot or a boomerang, or, well, even a boomerang can wait. But like a hook shot or a hammer or a strength upgrade, it's like you need those early. You need to be able to get those efficiently and early so that you can then play the rest of the seed. Iron Boots don't do much.
No, they're there if we need Central Pillar, and otherwise, that's the only thing they're essential for. So it's interesting to play for that, but at the same time, this absolutely could burn you if you do just if it does turn out that boss key happens to be there, then. Or an essential item, or even. Well, there's a big chest immediately in GTG, so is this our path? It's a boomerang! Oh my. And another big chest.
No. Oh?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's just
no,
big agony. Just
If that is boomerang to get the bomb bag, I don't even know what to say at that point. Oh, and that was like, yeah.
But yeah, that boomerang definitely makes logically 50 skulls first bomb bag much more likely.
Oh god.
Well, that's pretty nasty.
I think it's possible now, right? Like that's got to be enough, pretty much.
But yeah, Cacta Baronade. No, it can't be CL. VL can't be a path in. So, long shot, I guess, maybe, but the second hook.
Yeah. Which song was it in Kakariko?
Oh wait, well, what was on Windmill? Have you seen Windmill Song yet?
Yeah, we've definitely seen it. I just don't remember which one it was. Was that
Nocturne.
Nocturne? Okay, so the character to Bongo at least is already covered. The one to
sure.
Baronade, a little different. Oh well, no, actually, the one to Baronade is long shot to get your boomerang.
Yes, I believe so.
But then why would that lock Epona and Requiem?
Hmm.
Oh, it's just Epona. Just Epona. I don't know why I'm thinking Requiem.
Yeah. Yeah, why would it look
That's-
Epona?
That's fine, maybe.
Kind of
If
funky
Epona
logic.
is... Epona could be in the desert. If Epona's back at the back in the desert, then you need the long shot to get there. That would make sense.
Loaded GTG. Yes, there was a big chest towards the back there, as Mental's pointing out in the chat. So they're going to go a little bit further. Going to take the left path this time.
So I will say, for what it's worth, by the way, I'm still working under the assumption that the boomerang isn't locking a bomb bag here. The odds of that are so low, and I would not be surprised to see another bomb bag or a bomb bag show up still in the rest of the greater training grounds. But I'll reconsider that one in like 5 minutes or so when Soli's done here.
Yeah. Whatever it is, unlikely to be behind strength 2 here. Marco doing the swag strat in Deku, but I always enjoy when they get right. This looks so cool. Way ahead on skulls. Got halfway there to the iron boots now.
Wild. That's just really pushing them so aggressively. I guess maybe thinking towards that bomb bag, but or at least like playing around it in the back of your mind. It's like you can rush to 30 and know that's required pretty much. And then have the... Oh wow, we're seeing the old.
Wow, yeah, we're really seeing all the old tricks today. You definitely don't see that. And there's a scale. Hey, Heaps, welcome in. Yeah, this seed is not nice. We already know that.
I love that the runners are kind of giving us a walk through the history of the game, though. We've seen season 1 and 2 plays and season 1 strat, season 2 plays, but we've also seen the season 4 meta, and we've seen like new stuff from this season, and we've seen new stuff that we haven't even seen this season that's just completely new from Soli. I'm still amazed by that, like, river death warp. It's so simple and yet...
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know you could take enough fall damage like that to actually do that. It's learned something for sure. So it does definitely, that scale makes it even more likely. That's 100% 50 logical skulls now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that first bomb bag is the 50, pretty much.
Yeah, no, that's that almost always guarantees it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that also means that how many of the hints are worthless at this point?
All of
So
them
we
are
have-
the skull hints, pretty much.
Right, so yeah, like, let me just quickly go over some of the hints we've had, right? We've had Kakariko to Bongo, which is Nocturne.
Mm-hmm.
We've had Market to Twin Rover, which is probably Din's for a key, a fire-locked key, because we've also got another hint that the fire arrows are fire-locked in the Composer Grave. Then we have Lost Woods to Volve and Kakariko to Baronade, both of which were hook shots to get you your long shot to get to the Gerudo Training Grounds, which is our 5th path to Phantom Ganon. Had a boomerang to get you your 50 skulls for bombs, to get you, presumably, a strength upgrade, and at some point, the hammer and so on.
That's delicious spaghetti, for sure. Slowly giving in and saved up all that money. Gonna go buy some shoes, get some explosives, start getting. Because I don't want to go to 50. I'm never gonna go to 50. I will lose
Yeah.
if I go to 50 skulls. So
Is
I'm
that-
just gonna buy some bomb shoes.
Yeah, right now you're like, okay, I could do all of this chain. I could do all of this wild string of logic. Keeping in mind, by the way, bombs lock Zelda's Lullaby as well. That's also relevant in there.
Yeah.
So you could follow all of that, or you could just buy some bomb shoes, go out of logic, get your strengths, beat Forest, beat Jabu, beat Dodongo's Cavern, beat Deku Tree, get Zelda's Lullaby, and probably find another bomb bag somewhere else later.
I think this is Sully strat in a nutshell, and I think it has, like we were saying at the beginning, I think it has to be the strat. Really, you have to take your chances, and also as well, like literally, I mean, if you've any chance you don't have to do 50 skulls, you're just going to be buying bomb shoes all game. That's what you're going to do. You just have to do it. Requiem would make it much nicer, admittedly, but
And, like, for what it's worth, I'm always, regardless of your opponent, the match, whatever, I think the best way to play with logic isn't to stay in logic or to break logic exclusively. It's that kind of middle ground of like, okay, know how you're breaking the logic and know what you need to do to get back in.
yes,
Sully at this point is like, okay, if I get bombs, I'm in logic. 50 skulls is a bomb bag, that's in logic, so everything after that is fine to do. And at that point, as long as you can track everything from there, you're not at any particular risk. The only real concern would be if bomb shoe bowling ends up being required.
yes, bomb shoe bowling would be a problem. 2 checks only, so not the end of the world, but we have a horse now. We've
Right?
we've gone through Wasteland, we've got ourselves a horse. That's just an hour refill on the arch, so we don't need that at least. Marco gonna finally get their long shot now. They've got time of day, they can actually get this done. I missed that hint. But,
That was the lab dive being nothing, so...
okay, that's fine.
we have
think
all our
that might be-
sometimes hints.
There's just one path hint left, I believe.
No, we've got all of those as well, yeah.
We've got all of those as well.
I missed a couple at the start, but I'm missing Big Goron, Skull Mask, and Frogs, and that's it.
Ah.
But all of our paths are completely covered. All of them are worthless at this point. Assuming Spirit Temple is fire locked. If one of the keys is fire locked, then yeah, it's completely worthless at this point. Our hints are done.
Yeah, love to see it. It's a sort of seed that's worthy of 2 such experienced runners. They're going to have to pull out all the logic tricks that they've learned over the years. They're just the knowledge, instinctual knowledge of what they need to do and don't need to do.
So, we have Marco now following Sully along. Sully having just finished the whole Garuda area and going back child. Marco is going to follow suit into Garuda Training Grounds, probably crossing at the song as well at the end of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But importantly, Sully's time of day didn't line up to get Richard, which Marco has done and has Dins.
Also took the shadow dip, but we didn't find anything of it. Frogs 2 we know is now dead now. I think we didn't know that before, but we do now. And there's a hammer.
Okay, so I guess that's the Lost Wood to
That'll
Volvagia.
be Lost Woods to Volvagia.
I mean, they both are, presumably, but
I think that's probably the one that the veranda bot picked for that, I imagine. Yeah, and that is why you buy shoes, as Ventinel says. That wallet coming in very much handy early on, because it allows us to avoid 50 skulls, which, hooray for that. Fish kind of trolling Marco. Yep, gonna have to try that one again.
Sully, meanwhile, is going to go on a little chain of gathering things here, I assume. We'll go down and pick up the letter here, beat Jabu. We'll be able to then save quit and go to... oh, you can't do Goron City. Sully needs that Dins.
Yeah, Dins is really important. We're gonna have to get that.
Right, you can't do to do spinning pot. You either need Zelda's lullaby to open Darunia's room, or Din's fire to light those torches.
Mm-hmm. Inko saying, if anyone would know how to do it without ZL, Soli would. Just choose, or Din's.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there
Really?
are definitely strats for it that I've seen before.
We may learn them today.
It's been a while, yeah, it's been a long time.
There we go. Getting the letter now. Which actually makes more sense to come back and get it here. You try it a couple of times as a...
Oh, and then serenade out. That makes sense, actually. I was thinking, like, and then just
Yeah,
walk
we've got the
up,
scale,
but...
so it's actually faster this way, but funnily enough. Rather than going, I guess, go in and get the chicken and then use the chicken to get in and just swim
Also,
across.
At least on our side, we weren't 100% what this item was earlier, so if it's
Oh,
relevant,
yeah.
Soli can
We'll
get
be
it now.
seeing it now. Yes, exactly. We'll probably get a closer look at it ourselves on the way.
Okay, that was definitely an arrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoever said that earlier in chat, good call.
Chat's on it as usual.
So Soli really needing that Dins from Richard. Without that, we'll be able to still do... We'll be able to beat Jabu and then... Not much more, honestly.
No, not really much available. A peak child spirit, but no, you can't get to child spirit. No requiem.
Won't want to go adult and go over to forest without that strength upgrade, especially
No.
not at this stage.
No, they could have done it already, and they didn't. So I imagine that's just going to stay that way. Not doing the dive, it looks like.
Interesting. Yeah.
It is going to light this torch anyway. And then go back up and do the dive.
Okay, that's a new way of doing this. I've not seen that method before, but...
I don't think I've ever seen that method before.
It feels like a nice middle ground between, like, the fastest strat and the safest strat. This is, like, a kind of safer version of the fast strat.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't have to worry about getting the flame storage, at least. And you can still do the rest of it. Not the greatest. Oh no, that's actually not too bad. I was going to say those rupee layout wasn't great, but that's actually pretty good. Oh yeah, no, still does the flame storage.
Right, because it's
does it this way around. That's really
lighting the bottom torch means that it's in the same room as where you are now. So yeah, you can do the flame storage here, and it's a little bit safer.
Oh, and it's a big chest as well.
Again, it's like little innovation. It's really fascinating to me. This one is one that there are strats that people are happy with. People either do one or the other normally. Not useful today, but you know.
Always shoot it safely.
Still that nice new kind of new idea, like new take on an old strat, at the very least.
Yeah, I liked that because when I've started using the faster strat now I've learned it. I'm like, oh yeah, actually this is the best way of doing it. But now I've seen Soli doing this way. I'm like, oh, is it there? Maybe I should have learned this one instead. Oh.
The other scale. That's a vanilla scale?
That's vanilla scale, yeah. Wow, that's pretty pog.
Oh, and is Soli gonna stop with the skulls?
Yeah, they're gonna be like, I guess I'm gonna do gold scale water.
Right, Soli's next play might be water.
I mean, they
no Zelda's lullaby. You're not going to water.
They haven't been doing the skulls really at all. Whereas Marco, I'm pretty sure, is almost at 20, if not higher.
Yeah, I imagined Solly's plan at least was to like not go out the way for skulls early and just kind of pick them up as and when they appear in dungeons on the way. But yeah, no, now you can kind of potentially skip a little more and be a little more aggressive about it, so this could pay off really big for Solly, that gold scale there. Skull's one of those ones, and I know Solly has definitely talked about strategy and stuff with Cola a lot in the past, and Cola's one of the biggest proponents of this. Skulls are one of the slowest checks in the game. If you consider that even the fastest skulls take 2 or 3 seconds each, and you're picking up 20, 30 of them, that's a full minute for 2 checks.
Oh, that's just for collection, let alone for maybe going out of your way for those particular skulls.
Right. And turning them in afterwards.
And quite a lot of skulls only available at night, things like that. It adds a lot on, you know, especially in terms of mental bandwidth as well, trying to route in all the skulls if you're going for it. Rather than sort of focusing on other logic, you have to think of skull logic at the same time.
So Marco here going out of the way to get the bomb tubes before the training grounds. We'll be able to get the BMOS chest that Solly didn't. And then after this, presumably Marco will leave after having done the training grounds and then cross over to get the song and make a play from there.
Yeah, I think getting the tubes first for Marco as well. To me, it makes sense for routing purposes. A, because you get the extra chest, but B, you'll be able to get the money back to get into GTG really easily anyway. So while you've got the 200, you might as well just go spend it first.
Right, yeah, for sure. Means you might be able to come out of this whole area with, I was going to say 20, but I guess 19 bomb tubes because you'll use one here.
So I guess you sacrifice 1 tube, but...
But if you find any rupees in here, you're happy with it? Yeah.
Exactly. So we get our first check in jabbing. It's nothing.
And you kind of gotta wonder, like, what is Solly's play after this? Picking up that gold scale is terrifying in a way, because Solly now has another play, potentially. I don't imagine Solly will dip water. Also, talking of terrifying, Marco... Oh, has a red potion. Never mind.
Getting a little bit more caress there, yeah.
But yeah, so... Solly at least has some more potential now in terms of other plays that would take him adult. And you kind of got to wonder if they'll do that or if they'll end up going to Richard. I think the market to Twin Rover hint will push them towards Richard, but...
You certainly hope so. It would make the most sense. Yeah, I mean, Forest next could be a good idea, but they'll feel pretty bad about that if that is the case, having to go Forest and then go back child again. Like, they're going to have to anyway. It's just a fact, but...
There's a part of me that thinks that if Solly was going to do Forest without strength, they'd have done it when they were there the first time. But... It's obviously, you know, as the seed becomes more and more narrow, those priorities might change, and at some point you do have to go back to things you've potentially skipped.
Yeah, sometimes there's no choice. You might not want to, but you just have to.
It is also worth noting, actually, Marco still hasn't done a river, right?
No.
So Marco doesn't know that Jabu is available now.
That's right. Got the boomerang, but thinks can't do anything with it. It's just a useless bit of bent wood to Marco at the moment.
Might end up going through Lost Woods, picking up that hammer there. But mostly because they had the hint to evolve there earlier, but River feels like it's a little bit more of a distance away again.
Just looking at Soli's tracker on our side, did he scum away the gold scale?
I don't think so. No, I don't think Soli has the gold scale there. I'm
Makes sense.
so bad at looking through this maze. I can never see anything, and honestly, like I'm at the point now where I'm just like, if anyone's looking at anything, I probably haven't seen what it is.
Yeah, I'm very similar. It's really difficult to see, especially because we are sort of watching on like an entire monitor in front of us. Like others do. Fortunately, they have an entire monitor in front of them. They can actually see these things.
Okay. Marco. Probably not crates giving. I had so much hope.
Yeah, not to be.
Oh? And Marco not crossing.
Okay.
That was a very abrupt reset, and
It was. And,
keeping a bomb tube. Right, I see. Saved before using up that one bomb tube, it looks like.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense.
But yeah, as a result, did not cross over, did not pick up opponents.
Nope. Yeah, Russian DC for ZL, I think, is the strat here, yeah.
Yeah. And that forest dip earlier with the, having the Kikiri sword being able to beat Deku Tree where Soli couldn't, is a pretty nice edge to have here, because that will mean that Marco can just be... Zelda's Lullaby is an interesting one. It feels like it locks a lot. It kind of doesn't. It's actually like very few checks, but they're scattered around all over the place. And so it's just that ability to be, not necessarily to do a lot of things, but to be more efficient while doing things that matters right now.
Yes, correct. Also, yeah, Barry pointing out, happy 1 hour. You know, I've reached the hour mark of this race, and it's an interesting one. So, if you are not already doing so, please do follow both these runners. As we've been explaining to you for the last hour, and you've been watching for yourself, they are elite, both of them, for sure, and they're bringing us a great race today. Coming with me today is Yoshi-kun. Thank you very much for joining me. Really much enjoying this. And the trackers, keeping everything running behind the scenes, keeping us updated. It will be Palm and Ashling NX. Race Monitor is Baseball, because of course she is. And our restreamer today, I believe is Trez. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's Trez. So, yes, well done to Trez. And, oh, Alsuna for Race Monitor, actually. No, it is Alsuna that's for Race Monitor, not Baseball. That is probably incorrect, because I did check. Who's also doing our French restream. So, shout outs to Alsuna for that. And our first look at DC, which usually has something nice until it doesn't. So here's a big chest.
Okay,
Wow.
so that is.
If you just don't skip the first cutscene, it's TD.
Wow. That's massive. That really has changed.
Yeah. That is a wild swing on the logic there as well, because that 100%, like, if we weren't already certain about that boomerang, now we are. Now we're 100% confident. So, does mean that we know where strength 2 is, which means with Requiem we would have potential spirit completion between the two runners. And actually, I think that means between the two of them, we're not missing much at this point. Is it, in fact, just hovers outside of songs?
I believe so. Yeah, we've Jabu we know, Spirit we know. We've got both the strengths, so that's fine. In fact, yeah, no, that actually may work out better for Soli then, in which case.
I
Getting
want
both
to...
strengths will certainly allow them to do Spirit.
I will say that, like, I think there's a world here where Soli is putting off Dodongo's Cavern for a little while. There is... The thing is, like, it is required, yes. We're not, you know... It's on your path, but... Because of how restrictive this seed has been with explosives, there is a very reasonable world where Soli puts that off in the hopes of trying to save some of those explosives for more checks, more safe scumming like we're seeing now.
Yeah.
And using up half of your explosives on a dungeon when you can't get Zelda's Lullaby out of it yet makes it a little worse for Soli to do Dodongo's Cavern at this point. So I don't think the strength there is something that Soli will necessarily get soon, even though Dodongo's Cavern is required.
Also, if we haven't seen it before, I'm not sure if we have, but Bigorum is a slingshot today. So chances are we're not going to be going to see the big guy at the top of the mountain.
Oh, Soli having the hammer is a good point. Soli having the hammer does mean that. I was going to say, even with strength, like, oh, they've had a strength upgrade to use for DC for the bomb flowers and things like that. Soli is absolutely the type of player who will just use the bomb shoes anyway because it's faster.
100%. Yeah, Matt, that hammer was powerful lost words.
Marco not going for the first bomb chew there on King Dodongo. And, like, notoriously difficult one to land, I think.
Yeah, playing it a little safer with the chew strats. Letter was in Lower River as well.
Which, yeah, Marco has not gone to yet. Notably, doesn't even know that's there.
Nope, has no clue. Missing out on the three hints there as well.
And Soli, worth noting here, just going into Goron City for just the hot rodder, nothing else. Missing that din still from Richard, so now we'll have to double back to try and get that strength upgrade. This is already a really close race though. It's like so back and forth in so many places. A whole ton of items on both sides, but different ones, different information, and just very different amounts of value from all of this.
Yeah.
It does feel like Marco is slightly pulling ahead here, but definitely still within the range where it can go either way.
Yeah. So it's 2 dungeons to 1 essentially, if we're counting child dungeons. Din's is great, but not having the hammer, not so great. Definitely ahead in terms of skulls though, so if we do require the iron boots, Marco, I would say, is way in the lead in that respect. Soli seems to be playing as if their DLC are not required right now. Just decided I'm not going to do skulls. I'm going to do 20 if I have to, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think kind of, I guess, more like a smaller thing here, but Marco not picking up the Eponas across the desert given that two of us, well, I guess one of our unknown songs is locked behind Spirit, if you need to then cross on foot again to beat Spirit,
Yes.
Marco is going to take a lot longer doing that than Soli will.
Also, as well, shout out to ZeldaSpeedRuns 2, sister channel, coming in for party of 35. Welcome in. There's a hammer for Marco. Going to be feeling really good about that hammer.
Yeah, welcome to everyone joining for a very high-profile losers bracket match, and a very, I want to say, volatile seed as well. Massive swings in terms of items all over the place, big pushes in terms of routing back and forth, and yeah, very difficult to say which way this is going right now, but Marco with a slight edge at this stage.
A good point in chat, yeah, I don't think Sully knows about 30, which might explain why they're not really rushing for the skulls. Just because I just looked at their tracker and it doesn't look like they have marked, but they know 30 on their own. Very strange, I must say, a personal tracker. But it's showing as unmarked, which maybe that explains the skull routing, but they don't actually know. But maybe it will work in their favour because we've got the gold scale, which still needs updating, by the way, on the tracker. Because I'm sure they picked up the gold scale.
Yeah, no.
I'm 100% they've got the gold scale.
And yeah, Sully's going to pick up the dins here and probably be a little upset getting this late, but and yeah, sure enough, we see immediately went to play Prelude, I think, there, and then getting the dins, reconsiders, save quits, and is going to go pick up that strength from Goron City.
Yeah, the race is definitely back on, man. Definitely going to be getting back close again.
Yeah,
what I really like is it's been such different routing from them both. Completely different.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And yeah, so Sully here, it looks like buying some sticks as well, instead of grabbing them in Goron City. Obviously, just faster to buy them. Sully, they both have a very clear linear path from here, but they're wildly different paths because they've both been doing wildly different things so far. So Sully's going to go and get the strength here with Bomb Shoes. We'll then presumably go adult, do Dodongo's Cavern and Forest. We'll get strength 2. Might consider doing Spirit, but we'll then go back to Child to do Deku. We'll get Zelda's Lullaby. Marco, meanwhile, is going to do Forest here. We'll end up going Child, getting the Zelda's Lullaby, and getting that strength upgrade from the spinning pot. We'll then go and do Spirit. They both can do Fire in there as well, and then Water and Shadow are the two kind of question marks in all of this. We don't know if those Iron Boots are required yet, and we don't know where the Hover Boots are. And I guess Requiem is a distant third potential one.
So, as we suspected, Sully going straight to Goron City. Oh no, Docs.
Sully, wait.
That feels bad heaps.
So Sully, yeah, skipped out on the strength, coming here as adult now. Didn't actually pick up that strength, but won't. That doesn't actually change the way the routing works because of the one in Dodongo's Cavern.
Intriguing. Knows it's fair, I suppose. And
yeah. It works out for Sully, but yeah.
Yeah, gonna go to DC and do what Marco did and pick up the strength at the end of it, hopefully.
Yeah, and I guess there's a world where Sully isn't confident with the strat from Lost Woods
as well for Sully. That should be the looking at the track. That's the first time they've seen with him, so they know now anyway. But it's behind it. If they didn't before, they definitely do now. Yeah, as Nocturne pointing out, just the momentary of shield flicks there. Just the tiniest of shield flicks. Knows that shield flicking is a time loss. Just treat themselves to just one little shield flick.
It'll work out really nicely for Soli within that, though. Being able to do Dodongo's Cavern here, we'll get the strength upgrade, and I assume we'll just see a Bolero straight out, off to Forest.
Yeah.
You beat Forest, you get your Kokiri sword, and at that point, well, you go and do Deku Tree, you immediately pick up your Zelda's Lullaby after that, you're already child for it, and then go adult and go to water, and you see if you can beat water at that point before you ever concern yourself with skulls. The only real downside to that is going through Deku and Forest, not knowing if you need to pick up those skulls, but they can get you to 10 or 20 at least. It's not too costly to pick those up, and Soli has been completely skipping them so far. The Soli has so few at this stage.
Yeah, not even 10, whereas Marco's going to show us how much he has with his long shot in just a second, and we are up to 19, so way ahead, at least 10 ahead, probably more. Kairi on 30, we have the Iron Boots, which again may or may not be required. It's not necessarily hard required, logically hard required. You can't do anything without the Iron Boots logically, apart from get in. But gold scale water is a possibility. So it's not the end of the world, it just means that if there's anything on the central pillar, then Soli is basically screwed. Which I have seen happen. I have seen runners avoid it and pay the price. So I think Marco playing it safe and ruining the skulls is good, but then Soli has literally only just seen it. So we haven't really had a chance to route in skulls for it until just now.
Soli with the bow strats not quite working out a couple of times there, but did just pick up that strength upgrade, so just going to take the easier way out at that point and just pick up the bomb flower.
Yeah, just remembered, oh hey, I can just pick this up, let's just do that. Not as fast, but at that point. Nice to have that backup from the chest just across the way. Oh, and toilet as well, yeah, of course. If there's anything in toilet, then you would also need the Iron Boots, but...
If that ends up being the hovers in this seed, considering hovers are not necessarily the only thing we're after, but almost certainly the only item we're missing at this point.
Yeah.
If they end up being in the toilet, this seed has gone somewhere. Like this.
We've already got some interesting spaghetti, and that would just be another level entirely of spaghetti if that's the case.
Yeah, it sounds kind of weird to say it. I actually think this is like the perfect seed to race as well. Like this is the kind of seed I think most runners would love to see. It has intricate logic, a lot of things required, but not looking like it's going to be 100% at this rate. There's cool logic that you can follow and work around, but enough decisions to make and enough efficiency with routing that it doesn't guarantee anything. It gives you that potential to toy around with things and play around a bit.
Yeah, no, I think the item layout really helps with that. It's like everywhere that you go, there's been sort of something useful that the runners managed to manage. Or wasting a chew there is not going to feel too great for Soli on DC. Implying runners want to make decisions, says Chimp. Well, yeah, ideally it would just be like, yeah, go here, get this item, and win.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess take that was like I'm always a very big like proponent of this because people are always like, this seed is terrible, the runners won't be happy with this. I'm like, one of them will be. One of them will be happy with this. That's how it works. If it's like a wild chain of logic that is a nightmare to follow, one of the runners will be better at logic and will prefer that. If it's like all execution, 100% just to do everything, one of the runners will be better at execution and will prefer that. I think the reason I'd say this seed is kind of the ideal scenario is it's had a little bit of both at this point.
Also segue, yeah. Implying Zeta runners enjoy Zoo.
They've been around since season 2. I assume they enjoy it at this point.
They must enjoy it. I mean, it's a kind of masochistic thing, but I think I think the enjoyment must still be there.
Something I'm noticing, not needed for Dodongo's Cavern in the slightest, but did pick up that big Goron sword and Dampe digging and just hasn't equipped it yet as adult because either forgot it's there or just hasn't cared about it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess no need to menu it if you really don't need it. And yeah, this fight, impossible to do anything other than a 2 cycle. Big Goron sword is cringe. Okay, true. I mean, I'd take it. You mean you don't want to save for 30 minutes? I mean, everyone wants to save for 30 minutes.
What's your favourite factually incorrect meme? Big Goron sword saving 30 minutes, bottom of the well being a bad play, or Stone Shadow being a bad play?
I have to say the 30 minutes Big Goron sword. I think for me it's the ultimate classic because it does save some time and it does save you some time from the start, but it's close to 30 seconds, 30 minutes, no matter how many fights you have to do. But it just sounds so good. Like if it saved 30 minutes, it would be a fantastic item to get.
I think like the one that I think I've liked the most with that is like when I first heard it, it was 10 minutes and then it became 20 and then it became...
Now it's 30 minutes.
It's just slowly been increasing over time.
More and more ludicrous, and yet still there's a chance. Yeah, maybe.
It's got to the point now where I've heard people joking about it being like, oh, I found Big Goron's sword, now I'm going to finish at minus 10 minutes.
Just getting worse all the time. I like it. Alright, well, Soli's turn to go dip Shadow. Have a look at the first 2 checks, if there's anything in them. Marco going for the hookshot strat on the ghosts here, because allegedly it's slightly faster than using a bow because you don't have a recoil of the ghosts. And so you can shave off maybe a second, if that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I've never really thought about that actually, but yeah, that the standard convention is the bow is usually faster because it fires faster. But no, that does make sense now that you say it.
Yeah,
the one I do know about is this one. When you're on the elevator, this was a toxic oxygen strat that I know.
I love this.
You're meant to put away the sword. It saves a frame. When you go to grab here, you have to put away whatever you're holding, sword, bow, hookshot, whatever. So you have to press A on the elevator down to put away your item to save 1 frame on the grab.
In a race between these two, that could be that 1 frame could be what it comes down to. Well, I mean, I'm sure our race monitor hopes it isn't, and the tournament organisers hope it doesn't come down to 1 frame.
Get the rewatches going.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to retime that one. Not seen it yet, but it could happen. You never know.
I think the closest I've seen in a race, and I guess this isn't quite 1 frame, but it's pretty close by OT standards. The closest I've seen is 1/3 of a second.
Oh wow! I mean, yeah, that is about as close to 1 frame as we're probably going to get, realistically.
That's like what, 6 frames roughly? 6-7 frames?
Amazing. Definite retime required. I wouldn't want to be the one having to make a decision on the retime for that one.
I was going to say, I was one of the organisers in that. That was a league match, but it didn't matter because we just had a rule that if it's under 3 seconds, it counts as a draw because it's a league, not a bracket. We're fine.
That makes sense. And so, Michael, actually, I'm not sure what it is with this tournament, but if there is an auto rematch, if it's too close to call, but I'm not sure. If we
I don't think so. I don't know the exact ruling, but yeah, I don't think there's something like that at least. But hopefully we don't have to worry about it, and don't give that extra headache to the organisers. But
yeah. No, there's no tie rule, so yeah, it would have to be retimed.
frame count.
Yep, literally come down to frame count. And yeah, check Furby. If you weren't already aware, 20 FPS is the speed. Should be 20 FPS, unless you're using some emulator settings that aren't allowed. In which
I was going to say, frame rate in this game is a loaded question because it's 20 except for the times where it's 60, but sometimes I think it's 30. I'm not 100% on that one. But yeah, most of the time, 20. I know menus, the start, like the file select
the file
is 60.
Solid 60. But rest of the game, 20. And there's the Kukiri sword for Soli, finally. And then the Stealth Mushroom where it drops to 3. That's right. And Trez coming in and explaining for chat. The only reason why we do a tie is if we had a very close match under half a second or so, and there was no reliably stable recordings. So the chance of that happening, even if for a very close match, is tiny, frankly. As long as we've got steady streams and we can do a proper frame count, then we're all good.
So we did see here Marco beating Forest as Soli enters. Marco gonna just go through some progression here, and there is a lot of progression to go through. Keeping in mind, Marco has not picked up Zelda's Lullaby yet, which will allow him to go and do the spinning pot, which will allow him to go to Spirit, potentially beat it, we don't know yet. And then also, at that point, might already be at 30 skulls, which will allow him to go and do water as well. We have a lot of progression in store at this point. It's hard to say where we kind of come out of that. There's at some point you have to be like, okay, once they hit this stage, we'll know who's ahead, we'll know what's done, like where they're headed. But by the time we hit that point, the situation might have completely changed anyways, so...
That's right, yeah. We're theory crafting a lot, but right now, nobody truly knows.
All you can do a lot of the time, yeah. It's like, well, right now we have, like, between the two of them, you know, we're at kind of 7 or 8 dungeons combined, at least, that they can just go and do. We're here for a while of... Who knows? We'll just see how it plays out.
Worth pointing out that Treasure Chest minigame is now in Logic as well, should anyone decide to do that. Although I think we've resolved the market path, but, you know, it is there. 3 checks in market that we haven't resolved, actually, because we haven't got any sign of Bombchu bowling anytime soon.
And the big question mark here is hovers. Hovers are essentially the only thing... Actually, we could probably get a bet open for that.
I mean, we know where everything else is right now, apart from the light arrows, obviously.
Yeah, no, the hovers are essentially the only thing missing for glow mode between the two of them. And we have no hints that are useful for any of it. We know it has to be long shot locked, I think. Actually, no, not even that. We know nothing. No. We know absolutely nothing about them.
No, at this point, for what information we have, which is the information we're stuck with, yeah, I can't really think of any pointers. It literally could be anywhere. And there's still loads of places yet to go. I mean, Marco's definitely been pushing the dungeons. So he's been doing the overworlds. But, yeah, we haven't seen anything of no sign of storms.
The path command is missing a hint. It's we had a Kakariko to Baronade as well, which was the long shot to go to GTG to get your boomerang. So, yeah, we do have all of the paths and all of them are covered. I think the only hint we don't have, and I might be wrong on this, we might have seen it early before I got my hint sheet in order, is do we have a skull mask hint?
I think we saw a skull mask hint, but I don't want to say for sure, because I'm not 100%.
It's the only one I don't have a note on.
I would usually have my note sheet as well, but because of my my USB port's not reading any of my any of my items, I was a bit of a panic before the stream, so
Oh no.
I had to restart my PC with about 3 minutes to go. So, so a bit of a mess back here. So no notes on my end. I didn't get it open in time. Template time here now for Skull Mask, and it was a heart container, says Sin City. So thank you very much. No Skull Mask required.
Yeah, and that means, yeah, we do have all our hints and no direction on these hovers, just a whole world open for them and pretty much the only thing needed. Obviously they will need light arrows at some point, but you get your hovers, and if you're still missing the lights, yeah, just go and ask Ganondorf.
Yep. Yep, not too fussed about that. If we don't find them on the route, I'm not going to go looking for them. Just hope he says somewhere that's, you know, reasonable and not a complete troll. But
yeah, I was gonna say like, oh yeah, you go there and he'll say, outside my castle or something, and we have a hint for that one.
yeah,
I think
can't be there.
the only one that would be bad is if it's light trial. That's the only one that would require an extra item at this point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Unstoppable, if Hovers is on 20, then I think Soli's basically lost at this point. So I don't even think he's even getting 20 skulls anytime soon. But I mean, they're in forest, so I imagine they're over 10 by now. I don't know the exact amount, but I'd hope they're over 10 by now, unless they're literally hard avoiding.
Soli did not pick much up on the way through, but
got the long shot, so should have been able to get all the skulls in the courtyard, and that must have taken them above 10, but they're nowhere near 20, that's for sure. Marco's already on 22.
Alright, I want to start up some discourse. So, it's come up in the chat, the idea of like clearing out path locations and clearing out hinted locations. One of the things I know I've talked to Dubedecker a lot about is the idea that if you... So there's this idea of like, oh, always full clear your paths versus you've got an item, your path is fulfilled, you don't need to worry about anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And like, the truth is probably somewhere between the two, because the more items there are in a location, the more likely it is to get hinted. But not to the extent of going massively out of your way to fully clear an area once you already have something. And I'm curious on like where people draw the line on that. Like, how much do you worry about 20 skulls right now in Soli's position, knowing that you've already picked up Nocturne in Kakariko?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I definitely err on the side of usually full clearing if I can, maybe. And you know the accepted wisdom as known as always full clear your paths. Yeah, that's what everyone says. But it's definitely a gamble that can pay off either. Like, I think it's a gamble either way, isn't it? Like, we think, oh, to clear your path is the safest way, but if you can sort of work out that the chances are say 80-20 that you've got what you need and that's just it, and if you come back later, you can always come back later and hope that your opponent's done the same thing, then a lot of top runners will probably just go, no, I've made my bed, I'm just going to lie in it, and this is how I feel.
And I definitely think, like, you say about like the conventional wisdom is to always full clear, and I always feel like that's kind of the meme, the meme wisdom in a way.
Yeah, the
it's
meme
like...
wisdom, yes, for sure.
And it's like
because of those very times that it actually does happen, people remember more when someone doesn't.
Right.
It, I think, and they're like, oh,
yeah,
well, that cost them a race, rather than the times when it actually saved them, a couple of minutes or something.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to see like, oh, this person won because they didn't spend an extra 2 minutes doing skulls or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. For an essentially dead remainder of a location. Big chest here in fire, though, which is the eyeball frog, which we're not going to need to do today, unless we get some frog warp action. We're not going to be going up for that slingshot, that's for sure.
Digging deeper through fire, still nothing much in here yet.
Looking at chat as well regarding your question, it looks like seems to be leaning towards kind of full clearing, or going for the middle ground, but
Yeah, it's always an interesting one because, like, I'm sure there is a threshold, and it probably depends on the location, the items. Like, it's probably too much to get a good analysis on. But
an interesting point as well is the difference between Way of a Hero versus Path, if that sort of makes a difference. Because paths might overlap a little bit more, whereas Way of a Hero, you're sort of like, that's your Way of a Hero. There's something here, and like you find something there, and you're like, okay, it's done.
And also kind of the potential of sometimes hints factors into it as well. If you've got an area like Goron City that only has a handful of checks and like a third of them are potentially sometimes hints, versus somewhere like, I don't even know where now, like a dungeon, pretty much any dungeon, where you won't have many sometimes hints and there's a lot more checks. It probably changes that dynamic a little bit there as well.
For sure.
I'm definitely on the grounds of, once I've got an item there, I'll assume it's that until I know it isn't. So in this scenario, it's like, Kakariko to Bongo, that's covered, the end. Nothing else. Whereas if it was, you know, the Kakariko to Baronade, I'd be like, okay, it's maybe Longshot, and I'll kind of play around the fact that it could be either. And then once you get the boomerang... Oh, Soli with the speed strat. Sorry, this just caught me off guard.
Very nice. And collecting the skulls now.
Getting the skull while fighting the Poe, just to save a little bit of time.
Also, Marco also is in here with 4 skulls. However, I didn't watch it, but I would imagine they picked up a fairy. They have spare bottles. So maybe, but if not, then this will be this will be incredible. Because if you manage to get it and no fairy, got about 12, 13 seconds left.
And there's a strat here as well. If you
wow, I think he's actually going to make it on.
It doesn't matter so much. The blue walk is the part that matters here. You don't care so much about the check. If you target the skull of Volvagia after it falls and see up to talk to Navi, the blue warp opens, but your timer doesn't tick down as well. So if you're really desperate for time, you can do that, but yeah, not needed here.
Wow, that's amazing. And Silver Gauntlet, welcome in from the Multi-World semi-finals. You just joined us as Marco did a perfect 4-heart Volvagia. Perfect. With 9 seconds left to spare. So that was excellent. So welcome in, everybody. You join us with an AD for Zelda's Lullaby. First logical bomb bag on 50 skulls. Iron boots on 30 skulls. And a few unresolved path location. Well, resolved, but with checks left. So pretty evenly poised at this point, I would say.
So Marco here is likely to just follow all of this through. Again, we have a ton of progression available. We know there is a strength on Spinning Pot that neither runner has picked up yet. So, Spirit potentially available. Iron Boots are on 30 skulls, so Marco pushing towards that. Soli has the gold scale from Zora's Domain. So both runners will be able to push towards that once they get the Zelda's Lullaby. Soli also has to do Fire and Deku at this point. A lot of progression to go though at this stage, and Soli with the fast one cycle on Phantom Cannon. So many runners go for that, but difficult strat, and I think that's like... I think I've seen it failed more often than not in this tournament so far. So really impressive to see.
Yes, very good. I mean, I think I like quick grab Morpher is fun as well, but I think this is my favorite quick kill strat of all the bosses.
Certainly the most impressive one at the very least. It's the most difficult one to do and looks the best.
It does. It just looks so smooth. It's just utter swagness.
Lake Hylia.
Okay, is this a what? Dip with gold scale? Probably not. Going to set Scarecrow at least, and then
Without Zelda's lullaby. Though.
yeah, no, we're gold scaling without ZL. Okay, you've got the Fakiri sword.
Yeah, went into the forest and got Kokiri's sword.
Go get ZL. Wow, no iron boots and no ZL, and we're just dipping with the gold scale. All right.
Oh. Wait,
Opening
opened water is going to grab a hint.
Maybe go back in. Maybe he's just thinking. Maybe he's like, okay, is there anything I can do before I have to change child? Anything at all. There's that extra confirmation for him because that was why. Yes, because it was back of Lake Kent. That's why he didn't know for so long.
Marco did back of Lake Kent.
Yeah, early as well. Early.
A wild back and forth through, like I say, just almost like an entire history of metagames we've seen in this race.
I think here, literally, all Marco really needs to do is just go river, and hopefully they're gonna go do that now because they really need to pick up that letter. They have that letter, and they've got ZL. They're looking in really good shape.
I think there's a reasonable chance Marco does river here because at the very least he's gonna want to go to Goron City. He's gonna want to probably make that play towards the strength 2 on the spinning pot. And
looking like they might actually just do that now. Actually,
song first, anyways, and then I guess as well their save quit is like right outside Goron City, so you could grab this song, save quit away from here.
That's a good shout. Yeah, see if we got storms here or not. Work out. So storms or suns, if I've got my locations right. That's all we can have.
Requiem as well, I think.
Oh yes, Requiem. But yeah, we don't know what that is.
Between those three, there's one here, one in Ice Cavern, and one on the Prelude check behind Spirit. Which Marco notably doesn't have the letter yet, so Ice Cavern is... 2 of those are just written off for him at this rate.
Could absolutely be Requiem here, then. It is. Hey, all right. So that's good. That's Child Spirit.
And that's straight
there. Yep. Can get quite a bit done there if the keys are fortunate for us. If there's any Child Spirit required at all, should be able to continue if they want and. Get some knowledge of Spirit, or they have to grab the second strength as an adult. First time in DC as well, it looks like, so they'll be picking up Epona here.
What is Soli? Did I just... Okay, either there's some Deku Tree routing I don't know around having Dins that Soli is about to give us a masterclass on, or Soli just skipped the slingshot room and isn't going to go back and get it. Soli just skipped it. Right?
Seems that way. I don't even know what's going on anymore with these runners. Making some interesting decisions, but you do not see some unorthodoxy, I think it's safe to say, from both these runners today.
Yeah, and I think, in a weird way, I think this is like the biggest clash of styles in general. Marco is incredibly consistent, incredibly good on execution, and often plays the seed a little too linearly. If I had to pick a weakness and you know.
It's really picking the tiniest weakness.
When we're talking of, we're talking about
we're
these
talking
two
Marco,
runners.
so.
You're talking about like anyone in the kind of top 10 of the community. I think you're really reaching for weaknesses. And to be honest, I think I put both of these two in the top 10 in the community. If Marco has a weakness, it's that he's incredibly linear and incredibly consistent, which sometimes leads him away from potential like early game. Oh my god.
Well, light trial in
Yeah, sometimes leads him away from like potentially very early locations. It makes him easier to metagame against. It makes him easier to play around for other people because it's easier to figure out exactly what he will or won't do. Soli, meanwhile, is incredibly inconsistent. Soli is one of the hardest players to predict in this community, if not the hardest. But as a result, sometimes kind of plays themselves out of a seed.
Yeah, which with the essentially giving up on skulls immediately from the start. That's an example of that potentially. That could come back and bite them.
I think, yeah, like the skulls is a potential risk. I get it. It's slow. Skipping an entire, like 2 chests in Deku Tree just feels incredible to me. Just feels absolutely incredible.
Seems very risky to me. Very risky. Oh, Benji, you're too nice.
Appreciate it.
I did see Chimp with a good point there actually as well, that if Soli goes Child Spirit, then Marco is in big trouble.
So for what it's worth, they do at least know where the other strength is, but they're gonna have to go to Spirit regardless for the boss key. I think the interesting part here is the hover boots. We still have absolutely nothing to go on. And at this stage though, Soli is a fire temple up behind, whereas Marco is a Jabu behind. If the hover boots are just in Spirit, Soli probably has the edge. And yeah, sure enough, Soli is just going to go and immediately pick up Strength 2, it looks like.
Okay, well, yeah, this race is swinging back and forth as we expected it might.
And yeah, Soli has not touched Fire Temple yet, but will be able to go there immediately as adult. Marco, has not touched the entire Zora area at all yet. The Child Lake, we saw a Valley Lake play early from both runners, but nothing beyond that for Marco.
Marco finding out super early because of that Valley Lake play, but 30 skulls is the Iron Boots, because we saw both runners give us back of Lake hints, which, I'll be honest, you just don't see anymore. You very rarely see that. So to see both of these players doing it, it's very surprising.
We've gone through the Season 1 meta, the Season 2, 3, 4.
We've done it all. We've seen it all. Because these runners have so many different strats, different ways of thinking about and approaching the seed.
Right, and then, yeah, Soli with the early adult river is like the Season 6 meta, right? And then Soli has definitely pulled out some plays that I can only describe as the Season 7 meta at this point, because...
Brand new, you've been saving them for an occasion like Marco, and Marco is the time to pull out all the strats all the strats you think you have, but nobody else does. If you're not going to do them against Marco, you're never going to pull them out, really.
Yeah. I guess I'll give a slightly hot take here in that I don't think I would say that Marco is the top runner in the community. He's in the conversation, he's up there, but I personally wouldn't put him as first. But if nothing else, Marco is the highest profile runner. If you want to make a name beating somebody, there is nobody better.
For sure. All of France watches Marco, as far as I'm aware. and a lot of non-France as well.
But who I would actually put first? That's a difficult conversation,
that's
Rob...
such...
Probably Sponge, but it's very close.
I say Sponge or what the hell's, but I mean, I don't know. I think it really changes, flops back and forth between.
Honestly,
and new runners coming up all the time as well.
It's honestly different for different metagames as well. Like, the more linear a metagame is, the more likely I am to put Marco towards the top, and the more kind of varied and wide open a metagame is, the more likely I am to put Sponge at the top. And what the hell's is that middle ground who kind of does a bit of both well. Exodus definitely climbing as well. Has always had that execution.
For sure. But really, really doing well at the moment.
Yeah, has just like stepped up his rando game in particular. Obviously Exodus has been OOT, one of the like OOT masters for so long. Incredibly good execution runner, and
Very
now
consistent.
has really stepped up his rando game in the last year or so.
I mean, yeah, if we're talking like early seasons, when maybe 80s, he would still be in the conversation. So someone mentioning them in chat, but that's not been a thing for a little while now, isn't he?
Oh, Soli did remember to go and pick up this song here, Warp to Temple of Time, and then...
Oh, yes. Well remembered there. That's important.
And Soli is absolutely the kind of runner who will go over to do Spirit immediately.
I think so, yeah.
And we'll pick up Strength 3, actually, because, yeah, we did know about the Strength in Goron Pot. That's the reason that Soli went there. Doesn't know about the one in Spirit, but is going to probably go and get it at this point. And then it's just this almost dungeon rush into where are your hover boots. Did Soli had this in, right?
Presumably not. Unless they really wanted fire arrows for some reason.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like faster. I guess there might be some strats in Spirit for fire arrows. Shoot the map chest to see it without ever going near it.
With what we've seen from Soli so far, I mean, I don't even know anymore, to be honest with you. I think there possibly could be. But yeah, I think they should have known that hint, so maybe they chose to actually go get them. Which is interesting.
In theory, there have to be some good fire arrow strats. The one that, like I say, the map chest in Spirit is the one that comes to mind, where like you could be higher up in Spirit and just shoot down at the torches.
Yeah, for
to
sure.
see the chest and not actually go down to open it.
Torches with a sunblock as well. I mean, that probably is easier with flame arrows. But no, that's well, yeah. Maybe a little time save there. Oh, there's a hover boots in Spirit.
Oh right, so
this is this race
collective
on its head
flow
again.
mode.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So for anyone who is new to these races, new to the streams here, glow mode essentially means you have all your acquired items for your dungeons. You can get to Ganondorf, and he will tell you where the light arrows are. You need the light arrows to beat the game, but we can at least get to that hint. So Marco doesn't have many options outside of Zora River, is the big thing.
Yeah.
That does mean that Marco is going to be going through all of Shadow opening chests, potentially all of Water opening chests. Soli will get to skip a ton of this.
Yeah, this looks pretty bad for Marco right now, I've got to say. Assuming Soli does the rest of Spirit, which I don't see why they wouldn't at this point. Remembering though that maybe, and this is clutching at straws here, but Central Pillar is still a thing, potentially.
Right, yeah, that's true.
But
I think
apart
it's
from that,
low odds, but yeah.
apart from that, I'd say it's looking really good for Soli right now. Marco, sooner he gets to River, sooner he starts. Where's the ice arrows? Sooner he gets to River, better. But Chimp reckons he might even reverse the GTG. Now we've got Strength 2, go clear that out.
There's a while, they've been there a bit, but yeah. I think that so the first play for Marco though, 100% will be to beat Shadow, right? It's so much density. You get so many items in Shadow, and
You've got to do it.
it's required, right? Yeah. So you absolutely go and beat Shadow, and I think at that point, coming out of Shadow, Marco will be at 30 skulls, so we'll immediately go and turn that in and go to water. Just be able to chain those in really neatly together. So Marco can do both of those, and then we'll have the rest of the game open to look for Ruto's letter. The rest of the game isn't a lot, but we'll have the rest of the game open and no particular direction on it.
Oh yeah, Tim, but also another good point, as usual. Out of explosives now, Marco. Used all those shoes, so...
Does need to make us stop somewhere before Shadow then won't be able to beat it as it currently stands.
May again push him to reverse Wasteland and just go GTG since he's there anyway with a bomb shoe salesman.
Yeah, and got opponents as well, so some horseback archery in there.
Yep. Could be bad. Could be very bad right here.
Yeah, this is kind of it, is this is the clock, right? We were saying, you know, Marco's on the clock and he has to go to River. Oh, well, there's not much he can do before River, but there are these things that are adding up. You know, horseback archery is not particularly fast as a check. Crossing the wasteland is really slow. It's really valuable, normally, but it's really, really slow. Marco has a lot of time to lose here.
So Marco's on 29, so yeah. It could literally come down to the 10% at this point for Marco of just winning because of the iron boots. But otherwise, I don't know. It seems rough to me. It seems very rough for Marco. Especially with those dungeons. I mean, it's all progression, so you can just chain those dungeons together, but then has to go River immediately to have a chance. And then we'll still have to do an age change unless they go Child. I don't see any reason for him to go Child.
Yeah, I guess that's the other difficult part on Marco's side is like, you want to be Child to do Jabu, so you want to not spend the time going back and forth if your letter is as adult, and then...
Then again, though, I mean, we did see Marco earlier doing some very strange routing at the beginning, going back and forth.
Yeah, true.
Child to adult a bit more than needed to, so maybe that won't be an issue. Maybe they don't mind doing multiple changes, but...
Also, yeah, people going over the hints again in the chat here, and yeah, we still haven't actually seen.
Bowling, yeah, that would screw things.
That would
really mess things up.
Although we still haven't seen another bomb bag, so the odds are that either there's one just somewhere in the tail end of Shadow potentially, or they're both in Ganons.
Oh wow, that would be so nasty. That would be fun. So there's still a lot that could go wrong, but I would say balance of probabilities, Soli's looking in a pretty nice spot right now. Oh yeah, ice traps will only be in RSL settings, I believe. They're way too trolly for race settings. Usually reserved nowadays for crowd control, charity races, and such like in standard settings.
I'm sure I've said this about so many things in the history of this game. Of all the things I've done in this community, getting rid of ice traps from tournament settings is my proudest moment. I was the person who started that conversation.
You were the one who fought for it. It was like, this needs to happen. I'm lobbying for this intensely. I'm so glad you did. It makes running standard seeds so much better than it used to be. You are a fool, except you're not. You're a genius for getting rid of them. And here comes a fire arrow strat, saving, as we were just saying, shooting it from up here instead of going down.
Get to see this chest from the top.
No reversing from Marco. Interesting. It looks like in a set time of day. Maybe grab the skull, set time of day, and then... We don't need to set time of day, really. Just getting the skull, I imagine. There's no reason to set time of day for anything.
Yeah, this makes sense as well. Like we say, this lets you get iron boots in when you go to Kakariko here, which you're going to do anyway to try and beat Shadow. Depending on
bomb bag on 10
explosives.
skulls just sat there as well. Bomb bag on 50 and 10 skulls.
We don't have any hints for bomb chews or anything, do we? It's not like
No.
Marco knows that there are some waiting elsewhere or anything.
Nope, nothing like that. Ruto's gathers Lower River, and Marco hasn't touched River at all.
Wait. The bug? Is Marco considering going to 50?
I can't be going to 50, surely. Surely not.
Why would you? The bug has to be.
Bugs? Selling for
Money.
That's
Oh, that's
okay.
That's actually genius. Yeah. You know
well,
what?
Well remembered.
Good call. I'm
Scucks.
not gonna. The other part of this I forgot is I didn't realise that guy was there at night.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's there 24/7. Got nowhere else to go, I suppose. 20 was Greg. Hey, so at least we get to see Greg today. Those are the iron boots.
Requiem? To buy the shoes, right? Before
Yeah,
Shadow,
get the
to then.
shoes.
Yeah.
Before presumably Shadow, hopefully not back into GTG.
Soli, meanwhile, also running out of explosives here.
Yeah. Yeah, they're done with their explosives too.
Obviously in a very different scenario, Soli's skipping checks at this point because you know you can go and get the light arrow hint. A little risky. If Ganondorf, we know it won't happen because we've seen Marco do it. But if Ganondorf said, your light arrows are in the Spirit Temple, Soli would feel pretty terrible right there.
You'll
but,
never find my light arrows in the Deku tree that you skipped. I mean, Diometheus, I think we were pretty convinced that 50 skulls is probably got to be the logical one. Because 50 skulls has been in logic for a very long time. With the scale and the hook shot.
Yeah, the fact that the path to Phantom Ganon was a boomerang, like almost, and there was all the strengths were bomb locked. We knew it had to be a strength at that point. Yeah, at the very least, if there are other bomb bags, they have to be boomerang locked, and there's basically nothing else at this point that is boomerang locked. So I think it has to be that 50 bomb bag is the logical required one, and then your others are bomb locked.
Also, happy 2 hours. We've surprisingly have resolved quite a lot of the stream compared to where we were an hour ago. It was looking kind of dodgy, but now we've got a good idea, I think. Still some unresolved stuff to do, but, we're getting there. So, let's shout. Let's start with trackers this time, I think. We'll shout out I'm going to assume Ashling, NX, and Palm, but they can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm assuming Eiling.
It could be Eiling, but I think my Irish tells me it's Ashling. I don't know. We'll find out. My co-coms today, Yoshikyo, thanks very much for joining me. This has been an absolute blast. Both our runners, Soli and Marco, two of the OGs, we would say. Hey, I got it right. Okay,
hey, good call.
And two of the OGs in the community. Marco, Season 2 champion and Season 3 runner-up, so always there or thereabouts. And surprising to see them in the lower bracket. Both these runners, honestly, in the losers bracket. Let's see. Restreamer today is Tresco, so hashtag blame Trez if you would like. Although the restreams been going really well, so maybe not. And finally, our race monitor is Alsuna, who's also doing the French restream. So many thanks for that. Between the two streams, we've got like over 1,000 people watching this, so that's really impressive. So thanks very much to everyone for joining us for this exciting race.
And of course, thanks to Ginger Sunny for some fantastic commentary as well.
You're very welcome. It's always a pleasure commentating with you. You're so knowledgeable. So
This has been so fun.
you make it easy. You're very knowledgeable. And it's good to get on with. So thanks very much. Soli finishing up Spirit Temple then. As Marco enters Shadow. So yeah, not getting baited by GTG. Just going to go progression, which is what they've been doing. As you sort of said, Marco pretty thorough and very much a progression player. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think almost always just the right call, honestly. If you have progression available, like for all you know, in Marco's position, the letter could be anywhere. For all that Marco knows, it could be in Shadow, it could be in Water. So just pushing that progression, getting the checks that you know you'll have to do anyway, makes sense. Obviously, you know, we're sitting from a different perspective where we've seen the letter in Zora's River, and the question then is, how much time is Marco losing doing checks that Soli won't ever do?
That's right, because I'll just be glow moving.
Which I guess part of this, not something that comes up very often, and when it does, it usually ends up on the kind of bad side of things for the runner who has to do it. How much of Shadow will Soli get to skip? It's not a dungeon you usually get to skip much of.
No, depending on the key layout, you may have to not skip any of it at all.
Yeah, and there is a world where Soli chooses not to anyway because of the potential for light arrows in here. Not a place you want to go back through either.
Oh no, it's so slow. But you know, he might just decide to. Even if you've got all the keys, he might decide to go check the back of Shadow at the bottom. But then again, maybe not. I mean, Soli's definitely been taking more chances, has been skipping a lot more checks, and may still continue to do that. Both runners money farming, yeah, that's right, because we need some explosives again at some point. Marco, not too bad with it though. Selling the bugs to give himself a head start and hoping, since he's not in go mode, he's going to be opening his chests anyway. Maybe we'll find some rupees if it's an easy small chest, perhaps. So definitely running and getting some more juice.
Yeah, not the fastest money farm ever, but anything faster would require more travel time, going child. Just better to do this here, and yeah, we'll go and pick up those bomb shoes for presumably the last time this seed. We'll do Shadow first. Soli being able to go and do Shadow and Water first then means you know exactly, you don't have to worry about your explosives count. Fighting Volve. Marco falling off the...
Marco missing that, yeah, the hovers.
Rare
That's the second
execution miss.
Yeah, the second slight execution. I mean, Marco's been on point otherwise, but two just very small little things there. Not quite up to his high standards. I'm sure he'll be a little bit miffed at those, in fact, knowing how much pride he takes in getting old, says so. Those reflexes, not what they were.
Anyone who's watched Marco knows exactly what his reaction is as soon as that happens as well. Like, he just falls off the spike and there's just an eye roll, like a slight lean back, and then he just goes up and does it again. But yeah, so Soli here will absolutely, the one thing I know for certain here is that Soli will, or at least should, do fire last, because that way you know you need explosives for Shadow and Water potentially. You might need to do the cracked wall, you need explosives to go through the wall at the start of Shadow. Fire, you might need explosives, but you want them for Volve. So being able to do Water and Shadow first, you then go through Water, you go through Shadow, you go through Fire, and then in Volve, you can just throw away the rest of your chews. You're not going to go out of your way to pick up more. You might find a bomb bag on the way, although I don't think Soli will be opening checks that much, even if they're big chests. But yeah, Soli will be able to then know that those remaining bomb chews are not necessary and throw them all at Volvagia. Again,
This is also
barring a bad light arrow location.
yeah, this is also where Sully learns if they've better start desperately collecting
Yeah.
skulls or not.
Oh,
We're gonna find out soon enough. I hate gold. Gold scale water is not my friend, but we're gonna see some cool peaks here. I think from Sully, and if anyone could do gold scale,
That peak.
yeah,
You tried to do that one.
it's not fun. It's not fun.
Like, you go up against the wall and you target, and Link lines up on the wall, and you're like, no, turn sideways again,
Yeah,
target, line up. No. But yeah, Sully managing it immediately, as you know, as we've come to expect.
That's a good one. It's a good one to learn. It's a lot of time. Oh no, Asda. Oh, I don't like that.
I hate puns at the
Secretly,
best
I
of
do.
time, but more so when they're good. I feel bad for liking it then. That peak does work on everything, though. Yeah, you essentially it's one of those ones of if you can't see the chest, it's small most of the time. But it does work on everything. It's just obnoxious to do because Link will keep targeting against the wall, but you can't move away from the wall, or else you're not far enough forwards to see the chest.
Yeah. Like you say,
Oh!
extremely
Oh!
obnoxious.
Sorry, how have I never seen anybody do the hover boots backflip to blow up that cracked wall? That's so good. Like, that's so
Or
simple and
strats,
so
that's
good.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of seeing new strats, so Sully's give us a performance here for sure. Or just things I haven't seen before, or uncommon strats, but maybe don't even save any time necessarily, not much, but just look good.
Again, Sully is the type of player, and I can 100% get behind this style, right? I'm less good at it in OOT, but I've definitely done it with other games. Sully is the kind of player who will take every potential time save. If you can save 1 second 90% of the time, Sully will do it every time because it's 1 second. It's a free time save.
Yeah. That's
and
20
yes.
frames saved right there.
Like, Sully is that player who will go massively out of the way to learn these tiny little execution things, tiny little ledges that other players just won't bother with because, well, it's only a second. When does that decide a race?
That's right, and the level of sort of practice or training to learn that for 1 second when there's so many other tricks that could maybe save a bit more of it. You'd have to get to the point where you're super confident at all facets of the game before you start dedicating hours of time, or at least a few hours maybe to learn that consistently.
Also, chat noticing the equips there. Yes, Marco is an ice arrow gamer in the shadow. I didn't see the boss key room, the Din's Fire one in shadow, but nothing in the final room there at least. So Sully might get to skip that.
This is kind of getting a bit nerve-wracking here for Sully. There's no boss key. That was just a small chest.
Also, yeah, one of the downsides of this water route that does that early peak, the plus side is that you potentially get around having to change the water level if you get some early keys. You get to change it a little less. The downside is you find yourself resetting a lot more, so it's not optimal all the time for the VC players.
Yes, it's VC especially, for sure. Alright, well here's Bongo. Presumably we're going to see the Ice Arrow strats, which I always like to see. I think should be mandatory, but that's just me.
Marco is one of the few top runners who actually makes this look like a good strat. Which I guess is to be expected at this stage, but Oh, I say that
Oh,
though.
well, hang on a
Misses a
minute.
couple of times.
Not such a good strat, I guess. Gonna have to
And the
try
other problem
again.
is, it takes so long to fire. If
That's
you
right,
miss,
yeah.
it's so costly.
You can't just quick fire all your arrows. You have to charge it first.
Nothing better than when you say something on commentary and the runner perfectly proves
Always.
your point
Always.
exactly as you intended it. Yeah.
I mean, earlier we were talking about how good execution Marco was, and then we made their first of two mistakes, all straight, almost like straight after this.
Yeah, I feel like we've commented on Marco's execution 3 or 4 times, and he's made 3 or 4 mistakes.
Yeah, shy pointing out the people's champion Marco for the memes there. And that's Shadow Down, so that's another dungeon. And Soli is praying for Dark Link to have the boss key here. Or at least a river.
Yeah, not a lot of options left here, so...
That's just a key. Gonna have to keep going. 2 checks to go. 1 check to go.
If it's Dragon Chest, this is fine as well, right?
Yeah,
Just...
I don't think we've peaked Dragon Chest, so...
Knowing you can do it from up here, there's just no reason to go through the and also, actually, I guess more important than being difficult or slow, it's also a method that uses a bomb chew. You don't want to use up that explosive right now.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, not with fire even.
That was not a boss key chest.
Okay. Alright, this is looking so bad for Soli.
Oh no, this is, yeah,
One
the
more
last
go.
thing
Let's
Sully
peek.
wants here.
Let's peek. It's
Oh,
a boss key.
it is!
It's a boss key. Oh, saved. Saved. Oh, the save. Wow.
Right down.
Wow. Oh
That
my
is
God.
right down to the wire.
That is a bailer out
so-
and a half.
I will say it isn't all good for Sully, obviously. The fact that Sully had to go this far through water, this was a lot of what we were talking about earlier, that Sully would have been able to skip by having the letter where Marco doesn't. So Marco being in the position of also full clearing water, that's one more position, like location that he can just write off completely in his hunt for Naruto's letter.
Oh wow, that was so as close as it gets. That probably that almost certainly would have been GG if Sully had to go back and collect what 22 skulls or something at this point.
Yeah, it would have taken a lot for Marco to lose at that stage.
The only way that Sully really gets screwed now is you'll never find my light arrows in the water temple, in which case, yeah, he's still going to have to do that. But
I think we were missing a key, so I think that's a key in the central pillar there.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's key in central pillar.
Yeah. The market would still be a bad one.
Market would be bad as well, yeah. Still got to find that bomb bag somewhere in that case.
Yeah, if they decide to go to 50, Marco is a lot closer to that bomb bag than Sully ever will be at this stage. And I imagine if you see a market hint, Sully would just start opening bomb-locked checks in Ganon's in the hopes of just finding a second or third bomb bag instead.
Yeah, hoping for those bomb-lock bombs. And so, looking for bombs where they shouldn't be able to be for the first bomb bag is the answer there.
Which honestly I think is the right play. I've seen that work before as well. Like I've seen a race decided by that where it was Riley was looking for a bomb bag for the market for bomb tube bowling and just went into Ganon's, opened one up almost immediately and wins the race.
That's pretty forehead. Yeah, that was a good play. That's a Riley play there for sure. Yeah, treasure chest game would be pretty bad as well, actually, for Sully. I'd have to go get that lens.
And with how little of the game is left at this point, you kind of... That's always going to be starting to nag at you, that back of your mind, oh, but what if it's this one thing that's so out the way for me? But, like, at this stage, There's a decent chance the lights are just in Ganon's. There's a lot of checks in there. We have all of Light Trial.
Well, Soli's turn in Shadow.
Sully already dipped. Right. For a second I thought Sully was skipping the starting area.
no, they both dipped much earlier. Way before the boots, which we've had for quite some time as well. Yeah, Purple Bomb is summed up pretty much. Depending on what Marco does. If Marco goes straight to River, we still got a race. If Marco does not, then I think Sully has probably got this.
Yeah.
We are going to see what's on Central. We know it's a key, but Marco's going to find that out for themselves the hard way with the Iron Boots.
Yeah, and I think the big one is that... So obviously Marco won't be able to go to Ice Cavern. Might have to. We might have lights there. We still have a whole area behind Ruto's letter that we've not seen. But Marco won't be able to get drawn away to that. The biggest cost for Marco has been clearing out these dungeons. The only other real location that he could get led astray in is if he goes to full clear the Gerudo area. If he goes to do the rest of the training grounds and horseback archery.
Yeah.
Those are a couple of big checks that might be more tempting than going to River at this stage of a seed. So Marco almost certainly full clearing water here, having done Central Pillar. I don't think there's a world where you do anything other than just the Dark Link loop at this point.
No. Not at all.
Sully, I was going to say, could skip the back of Shadow, but probably won't. But did skip the slingshot room in Deku Tree completely. So there is a world where...
It's not that easy to get back to either. It's a bit of a pain to get back there.
Yeah, so, there is a world where Sully gets to the end of this and just gets to skip the Shadow Maze entirely and just hopes that light arrows are not there.
This is still so close. It literally could go either way. Even with the Sully being bailed, the race is still on. It's not guaranteed. They've got a bit of a lead, but it's pretty close still. I think pretty close.
And I will say I don't think Jabu is a fast dungeon. Jabu even. Firstly, there's the concern that Marco will probably still do the checks in there looking for lights. I think the sort of player Marco is going to be more thorough and more kind of... It's more efficient to do this one extra check while you're in Jabu already than abandon it and potentially have to come back for light arrows. But... the tentacle fights in Jabu are very slow. The route around the bottom is very slow. There's a chance when Marco does the domain checks on the way through looking for light arrows as well. Or even worse, goes to domain first. As Child, plays their Serenade, goes into domain, does the checks there, and then goes to River and goes down.
Yeah. I mean, I still can't believe it. 2 hours 21 minutes, not even touched River at all. It's unusual, especially as we were saying with the S6 map. In my opinion, anyway, River has been such a strong play throughout.
River as well is it's one of those ones where it feels kind of bad no matter when you do it, unless you do it early. Because you know so many people are going to go there early, the later you leave it, the worse it feels.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that.
And it's, yeah, like, I've definitely been there where you leave River alone for too long, and then next thing you know, it's 2 hours in, you're like, I can't go there now. Like, if it's there, I should have had this an hour and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to in those situations. So you have to, at some point, you have to just
bite the bullet and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but it never feels nice. It never feels good to have to do that. Putting shoes on. Yeah, what is he thinking? Is that a river play? Yes. After considering river straight away after this.
What would Marco need choose as adult for?
I mean, yeah.
I guess it would be field checks. I don't know. Marco didn't do those, did he? Yeah.
I don't think so. Which might lead him towards river, hopefully. If he loops those in, he's got a Pona, but nowhere else to go. Really. Field to GTG, reckons Gav. Which, yeah, it could be,
Yeah.
and that would be very bad.
I could definitely see that. And then while you're there, you can also then pick up more explosives if you think you'll need them.
Yeah. Chimp saying that you go river as child, yeah, makes sense.
Kind of touched on this earlier a little bit in the sense of Marco, the item he needs is as child, in the sense of he needs to turn in the letter as child and do Jabu. So you don't really want to go child, do checks, and then have to go adult again to then do more checks to get your letter to go child again. You don't want that back and forth. So there is a very reasonable world here where Marco stays adult for as long as possible, just to try and cut down on those age changes a bit.
It's just these little decisions, sort of, I call them micro decisions, but that can add up or save time over a seed, and it's so hard to know what the correct choice is. Does it not have the shooting of the sun hint?
That was a save.
And that was also a save. So knows that's
So
not
Temple of Time.
Well,
Is this the field play with the explosives?
As a child,
Because you get the Tektite Grotto. We've not seen that from.
You've got the horse, so maybe it's faster. Get the song.
And the song. He hasn't picked up the song
that'll
yet.
be what it wants. Yeah. Oh, if it storms, that might be bad. Kind of hoping that it's suns at this point.
Oh,
and
it is.
Okay, that might save Marco here. Unless the light arrows are in which case...
And it's a child play!
No way. Could this be the river play to pick up the letter to go straight to Jabu and win this game? This is it. This is a moment. He's attached to choose. He's saved. Betting against GTG, as Alfalfa says, and that is the correct bet to make.
Yeah, no, there's definitely still a few checks that Marco can kind of spend some time on going around here. But this definitely feels like it's the main river play. We'll be doing it kind of quote unquote the wrong way around. The wrong one for this seed. But we'll be going in the right direction here, probably.
Still, though, Soli is now down Shadow, and what is about 2/3 or so of fire to the boss key. It's not deepest fire, that's for sure.
Nehru's on Mongo.
Oh, wow.
Just make sure you don't get punched, just to be safe. Again, we kind of touched on this earlier. Soli, compared to Marco in particular, like these are kind of two extremes of the nervous types of players. Marco is very used to this tournament pressure, very used to the pressure of speed running, being like PB pace, world record pace, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Marco is used to that. Soli has a history of almost, not, I don't want to say buckling under pressure, that feels too harsh, but definitely reacts to the pressure of a tournament.
Yeah, tournament record, not as great maybe as like the general like race time record might be, for example. Because recent form would suggest, when we looked at the stats earlier, that they're pretty even. Soli's got like 3 wins in the last 10 races of just like general. But yeah, when it comes to tournament play, this is obviously entirely different than when you're doing races with multiple competitors. It's a very, very different stress levels, type of stress to deal with. This is strength 3 for Marco. And yeah, Gav is right. Marco's been there, done that, and literally won the t-shirt.
No, exactly. Yeah, he's got the
so
tournament
that feels better.
results
Yeah.
and the speed running records and everything to show that he can handle the pressure. Soli, has said before that there's someone who has struggled with that kind of pressure and does get very kind of anxious being on tournament restreams and that kind of thing. So there is some level of nerves in there. I actually really respect the fact that Soli did just use the Neighbour's Love there, because if you know that is your weakness, just
use it. You've got it.
Yeah.
Why
Okay,
not?
you lose 3-4 seconds if that casting it. Who cares? Just do it. Just take that time and play safe in a way that works for you.
Yeah, we're really at this point we're really reliant on where the light arrows are. I think
Yeah, for sure.
that's going to really decide it. But
I do think the strength 3 here for Marco does take away one of the kind of edges on that Soli had. I do think Soli is still ahead right now, but Marco is without a doubt the biggest one that would point towards Marco. 3 checks there that are all good for Marco and bad for Soli.
yes, yeah, just being safe. If it's in light trial, you're going to need to get that strength 3 anyway. You don't want to have to come back here. Sun Song is always fun. You can just warp your way back to where you were, which is exactly what it's doing. Good point, but yeah, the lens is in fire actually, so yeah, Soli will have the lens.
True,
by
yeah,
that
that's
point.
fair.
Yeah.
2 checks that will be bad for Soli. And that's assuming, doesn't stumble upon a bomb bag in light trial or something first.
Okay, so we're at river. Are we going to do domain first? I think if you come this way, you've got to go down the river first, which is exactly what he's going to do. There's that 40 hint. You don't really need to check hints at this point, Marco. Just go. Not going to get a light arrow hint there.
The Fire Boss Key is in the shortcut about halfway up. I guess 2/3 of the way through the dungeon, really.
Yeah, it's about the point where you would start saying it's deep fire. So not quite deep fire, but on the borderline. It can't be OGC Troubadour because we've had a hint for that. But if it's light trial, then yeah, strength 3 would absolutely be required.
And yeah, kind of, we brought it up earlier, it's been pointed out in chat again. Soli also going to have to use some of these explosives in fire. So we'll know exactly how much they need, which is 0. You can just throw all of them at Volvagia and not have to worry about it. But you have to throw all of them at Volvagia and it won't be enough. You're still going to have to do the rest of the fight with no tunic, but 4 bottles and some fairies.
Yeah, it's going to be very on edge. I think Soli's going to be a bit nervous about that. Very nervous about that, in fact. Assuming, that he hasn't suddenly cured his tournament nerves, especially at this point. 2 hours, 30 minutes in, it's not been a jet, but it's not been a hell seed, I would have thought. So we've got to know that Marco is about neck and neck. You have to assume that even the best you play, Marco is probably slightly ahead, I would say. That's just sensible.
Yeah, I think Soli will always kind of consider that, yeah, there are little bits of routing here and there, and it's one of those things of, at some point you have to stop, you stop worrying about, am I ahead or behind, and you just go, I'm just going to do the best I can, and we'll see how it goes.
I mean, the good news of how for the AD is that looking at the stone layout, I mean, we started with one and it was Deku and DC, so not the horriblest of dungeons. It's not like it was Shadow and Water for AD. That would be much worse. And with two runners of this quality as well, I mean, even an AD wouldn't be like that much over 3 hours, I imagine, even in that situation. Like, it would literally have to be a Hell Seed for it to be anywhere near much over 3 hours. Rob Draven thinking Gomo Jabu. Oh, Icy Waters. Yeah, we forgot about Icy Waters. That is one that we weren't thinking of for the light arrows. That would be game over, yes. It would be a huge bailout for Marco, admittedly, but we've seen Soli with a huge bailout already in water, so it'd be sort of a bailout for the bailout. It'd be a psych bailout, I guess. It'd be like, you think you got bailed out? Psych. No, you didn't.
Yeah, there's definitely a world where, like, I imagine Soli would, like, just go there and hope it's on the fountain or something, like on the iceberg. But definitely then, if you see a fountain hint, you're nervous.
Oh, you're right, Gav. Overall, it's not a bailout, but in terms of how the... with it being on the very final chest, it's certainly looked like a bailout.
It also just kind of worked out that way on the grounds that Soli got that scale incredibly early, but Marco got the hint incredibly early, so they both, I think, made the right play for what they were doing, but because they had different information, because Soli had gone to domain where Marco had done back of lake hints.
Yes. Those back of lake hints early, amazing. You just never see it anymore. And I love to see it, so it makes me feel better, because I get them if I can.
I just think this is a really incredible, like, in the style of this race and the fact that we've seen so many different plays that in some places are a little, I don't want to say, like, outdated, because it's like, that just sounds like it's just bad now, but
yeah,
like, ones that used to be kind of standard and are now a little more niche.
Yeah, Marco go-moding Jabu as we thought it might do. Just saying, right, I can't really take any much more time here. We're 2.5 hours in. I gotta win this race. I found this bottle so late.
Soli running over the fence there as well. I love it. It's like,
nice.
Again, one of those really simple strats that just, it's one of those, how did people not figure out they could do this earlier?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like years and years ago, right? It just seems that simple and obvious, but... Lots of bets coming in chat. If you want to have get your time in, we'll bet for where the light arrows are. Seeing a lot of horrible places, a lot of okay places.
Yeah, what do we have left that might not be being considered at the moment? We have the rest of fire. We haven't seen the deepest fire yet. We don't have any hints for pretty much anything useful at this stage. We have a lab dive hint. And we have a chicken's hint. We have outside Ganon's castle hinted. But otherwise, nothing particularly relevant. We have all of Storms available after Ice, after Fountain. Nobody has gone past King Zora. Nobody has gone to King Zora. Trying to think if there's much else at this point. Obviously, all of Ganon's castle and our bomb tube bowling.
Yeah, if it's bomb tube bowling.
game.
We might be here a while while we go look for that bomb bag, wherever it is. Soli playing will be safer strats with 5 hearts, so gets a little bit more.
The troll hole?
Oh, that happened to me last seed I played. It happened to me, and I was so angry.
Oh,
So
that's
angry.
tragic.
Yes, if he loses to this, Gav, oh.
He did get a fairy. They will be able to just go and like evolve quickly back in, get the full timer back, and
The
then
safety strat, absolutely.
you have to just go off here. Like, you need this to be perfect.
You know, one fairy is not going to be quite enough. Well, here we go then. Here's the fairy.
It's close.
It's so close.
The bomb shoes, the fairy, and the big Goron sword together. Maybe not using the bomb shoes though.
Just sticking to the hammer now.
That was enough.
Knew it was just one to go. Okay, right. Well, sure. Easy peasy, I guess. There we go. Right. What were we concerned about? I guess he must have hit the first chew. That's the only way that it did it. That's amazing.
Yeah, he did the extra
done,
hammer hit on the first as well, so he had like a bit of extra damage there. That was
that was really well recovered. Really well. I wish I'd done that when I got troll hold last time.
I was gonna say, I feel like one of the biggest challenges as well, like people know exactly how to beat Volve. Like they know you do this many hits or this many like jump slashes and whatever. But the biggest challenge in a situation like that is tracking it when it goes wrong. Like, you have to remember, I have done this much damage and I have to do this much more.
Also, just a quick shout out to DM Mixie for the 48 months subscribing on ZSR. That is frankly incredible. 2 whole years. So thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. And that is Baronade down. So, oh my goodness, this is so close. It's going to come down to where the lights are. And if Marco's extra thoroughness in items is actually going to save him at the end, because he's going to be there a little bit behind. Still got to age change. Still got to get back.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about 2.5 minutes, but I think it's going to be maybe a minute and a half behind, perhaps.
Yeah, with the travel time and the age change. The age change is surprisingly slow, but yeah, I would say a minute and a half to 2 minutes range.
So Soli's entering at 2:39.19, say 2:39.20.
I'm also infamously bad at recognizing how long things take. So.
The estimation can be Alright, betting's also closed. Yep, this is the time to close it. A little bit late for Buzo there. Trying to get the meme one in, just in case there was anything else. Is Marco's bottle count accurate? Maybe. I don't really know.
I don't remember where the others were. I know we got the waterfall one. And...
yeah, gonna assume it is. The third bottle would be the Ruto's letter, I guess. So technically 3 empty bottles, I think, now.
Right.
Wow, this is so close. What a race!
Yeah,
what a race.
This hint is going to say a lot as well. So keep in mind as well, we've been talking this whole race about, Soli is one of the most innovative runners with like new strategies and has all this routing prowess, but Marco is arguably the highest execution runner in the tournament and in the community. If you ask, honestly, I think the majority of people would say Marco is the highest execution runner. Everything from this point on is execution. There's no routing to be done here. You get the hint and you go.
Yep.
Barring something extraordinary.
I mean, Soli's going to have about 80-second head start, assuming that Marco also gets through Ganon's castle with no problems.
the earlier this is, the
right.
more it favors Sol.
Here it is. Bottom of a well. Oh my.
Alrighty, so that is a lot of execution for Marco to make up some time on. We have to do all Ice Cabin and then bottom of the well to get those lights.
Oh well. Okay, here we go. Well.
Ollie, going to pick up the blue fire in Ganon's castle to get a faster route through ice.
Interesting.
Genius.
Interesting.
Actually, so big.
That could be big. Very sensible play. Very, not one that you necessarily think of at the finish of a race such as this, when you've just been told you've got to go find Song of Storm from somewhere.
Yeah, like nearly 3 hours in, it's fundamentally the correct play. It's just more efficient. But when you're nearly 3 hours into a stressful race, and this has been a really, this has been wildly all over the place. The seed has thrown information at them, thrown just options at them and decisions. To then remember that at that stage, with all of the nerves kicking in and everything, yeah, really heads up play from Soli there.
All right, now Marco's heard the bottom of the well. What are they going to do? Is he going to grab a blue fire, or is he just going to rely on supreme execution?
There is also, with the difference we have here, there is also that question mark of different people route bottom of the well differently, especially when it's in go mode. I said earlier that we were at a point where the routing didn't really matter anymore, but I guess it does, because if either of these runners, and I assume both of them have to... And Marco forgot the blue fire.
Yeah, no blue fire for Marco.
Oh.
Oh.
And I was going to say, yeah, if either of these runners has really thought through the whole, okay, how do I route bottom of the well? With or without explosives? With or without Zelda's Lullaby? Am I one item from go mode, or am I looking for multiple items? And that's the big one here. It's going to be Soli. Soli is the person who will have thought that through.
Yes. Or, but, I mean, if Marco loses by, say, roughly a minute, not getting that fire is going to feel
that will feel
so
bad.
bad.
Yeah.
So that's such a big brain for Soli.
Yeah. I will say, I like to clarify as well. I think both of them will have thought about their bottom of the well routing a lot, but I think Soli will have far more. That is 100% Soli's wheelhouse there. Like, that is his, like, specialist area, is that kind of intricate routing of how does this tiny decision change based on the tiniest little pieces of information.
All right, well, yeah, I mean, I find it hard to believe that someone as talented as Soli is going to give up a minute and a half at least execution, even to Marco. Especially, as you say, if they feel very confident about their well route, find that as one of their strengths. They're probably feeling kind of good. Well, as good as you can feel right now.
Yeah.
Feeling good, they don't have to collect 30 skulls, that's for sure.
Yeah, like, I think the biggest thing would be... So the standard kind of bottom of the well route now is that you get the front left chest, do a couple of peaks, then go through the center, play Zelda's Lullaby, and go around.
Yeah.
I could see a world here where Soli goes and does the front peaks, and then goes left, and goes to look at the underwater chest in the coffin, and if the underwater chest is big, then you go back to Zelda's Lullaby.
Yes. I mean, I guess we knew it would be a close one with runners of this quality, but for it to probably come down to like a minute, maybe less. Someone's saying there's only one route in bottom of the well, and everyone's saying no.
Yeah, no. Bottom of the well, I think, actually one of the most diverse areas for routing. I think bottom of the well has, as far as I can just say on stuff I've seen in different situations, at least 5 or 6 different options there. The thing is, you typically only see one because it's usually available early with all items.
Yes.
And so there is a correct, or not necessarily 100% everyone agrees, but most people agree on a correct route for that scenario. But a situation where you're looking for a go mode item drastically changes things. That's one of the biggest changes possible.
There's only one correct route for Master Quest. Well, leave.
That one I'll agree with.
100%.
Number of explosives is actually a really relevant thing here as well. I don't know Marco's count here, but Soli with 3, which is pretty much just enough to get everything in bottom of the well. And even if they're all large chests, we'll be able to see it all and pick up all of them.
Yep.
Oh. Marco accidentally dropping the blue fire there, yeah.
A misclick here. That's not great. That's unfortunate. Yeah, just little things at the end, but it's just such a surprise to see from Marco.
Yeah, no, like
C-stick striking again, says Alistair, yeah. Irish guy, lighters are in bottom of a well, which is why we're in ice to go get storms. Yeah, I mean, who could have thought Marco potentially losing in the second losers round is a massive shock, honestly.
I mean, yeah, like we mentioned it earlier, you know, Marco and Soli both 1-1 in the tournament to this point, taking losses to Soli's lost to Kidams. I think it's Kidams, and Marco losing to Ryukane. But yeah, Marco picked up the first win against Ferrovia, and Soli's win was against Goomba, who I think a lot of people pick Goomba as, you know, if you look through the predictions, a lot of people had Goomba as first, or at the very least, like top 3, top 4.
Yeah.
If Soli's matches are take a loss and then knock out Goomba and Marco respectively, that's...
Ooh, that is hey,
that is putting everyone else in the losers bracket on notice.
Well,
that
absolutely is. Absolutely, yes. Soli the Giant Slayer. Absolutely. That is definitely putting him on notice. Marco lost to Ryukane in round 1, which frankly is not necessarily a surprise. Ryu is an excellent player, very experienced.
Yeah, it was,
runs all the time. Lots of
winners
skills.
round 2. Marco had beat Fair in round 1, then lost to Ryu. Soli lost to Kidans in round 1, and then beat Goomba to get to this match with Marco.
Hey, I mean, yeah, also pointed out, there's a wallet. There's our third wallet.
Ideal.
Wallet percent. Just what we wanted to see. Yeah, I think Marco is gonna look back on this and think there was a few execution problems here and there that, quite honestly, are unlikely, and it's probably not going to be too happy with it.
Yeah.
Routing-wise as well, I mean, if he had not gone for 30 skulls, that could have been a massive time save as well. There's just a lot of choices and small errors here and there that have added up for Marco, I think, and he's gonna be pretty unhappy, I think, with this. Well, you're going to be unhappy anyway if he loses, but I mean, you're going to be sort of going to realise maybe where he lost.
Soli with the setup to do the perfect back walk across the entire room. It's like, again, tiny things. That's up.
That's expert right there. That is truly expert.
Especially just down to the point of, like, knowing that that is an option. Because how often are you taking that route?
Yeah, how often are you trial and erroring to sort of work it out, right? This could be it. Sponge called it. Who had the stones to go basement first?
Was that a new peak as well? I've not seen that one before.
I think that's one that's fairly new. I've seen it a few times in Season 6.
That's incredible. Like, yeah, I did not know that one, but yeah, Soli, again, the innovator.
No, it's the double defense. Oh, well. Okay, so, I mean, I think it's still unlikely that Marco can just route this better, but...
Yeah, Marco's routing looking pretty standard kind of go mode bottom of the well. The issue being that still takes you to...
Oh, and he's out of chews as well, so if it's bomb locked, he's in... No, he's got one chew. He's got one chew. Is Marco out of chews? Is that what we're saying?
I don't think so, but... Wait, did Soli not look at that earlier? No, Soli opened that one. That was the wallet, right?
Yeah. So
yeah.
He's gone the chew.
So just playing Zelda's Lullaby here. So yeah, this is... I imagine Marco's just doing kind of a linear go mode route here. The issue being, I think that still takes you to dead hand last.
Usually it does, yes. Yeah, I still don't think it's going to be enough. I just think it's going to make it agonizingly closer for Marco, perhaps. But
it's one of those ones where, like, if Soli fell against Ganondorf, that would be the difference. But I think right now it's still in Soli's hand.
It could just be right here. And there it is. Soli is out of here, and Marco is going to be back of well. So that is almost certainly GG at this point. Go into basement.
So yeah, Marco with the save there, so we'll just reset, go in, do the dead hand room immediately. But yeah, Soli...
A little bit too slow. Unless, obviously, Soli somehow manages to screw up this fight at the end, but honestly, the chances of that happening is next to none. And if they do, well... kind of on them at that point, really.
Yeah.
And you can't really complain if they lose.
Yeah, like, credit to, credit to both runners. I think they both made pretty much the correct decisions for the seed. Soli, played around, like, got that 30 hint very late, when the odds of it being required is like, what is it, like 9%. It's so unlikely. Is it just exactly 10%? I can't remember if it's 1 in 10 or 1 in 11. But close to 10%. And yeah, just incredibly, good call to not commit to that. Marco, on the other hand, got that hint incredibly early by doing back of lake and just went straight for it. Just no risks. You don't have a scale at that point. We'll do it. I think, yeah, both made good decisions here. I think we kind of, talked a bit earlier about that contrast between Soli as the innovative routing and the person who kind of comes up with new ideas in tiny bits of routing or tiny strats here and there. Marco, just some of the cleanest execution in the entire game. Easily one of the best execution runners. Yeah. And it really just came down to that, and the cost was Marco putting off River, mostly.
Yeah, I think that's maybe ultimate analysis. That's what's going to be what Marco's going to kick himself for. Especially with how strong it seems to be, and that chances are your opponent is probably going to go there quite early. If there's something you need there, you might just lose. And Soli took the chance that he didn't need Iron Boots and just gave up and finished the seed with 8 skulls or something. Marco spending that time to go get all 30 skulls to find out that the Iron Boots were DLC this seed, completely unneeded. And yeah, Purple Bomb, that's exactly it. 30 skulls versus basically no skulls, and we're a minute and a half apart. Really shows you some of the little differences here and there that have really cost Marco.
And
but that was what Soli needed, really, to have that slight edge.
And that's kind of the point from earlier, right? Is like, if you consider that each skull takes a couple of seconds for the most part, they don't take long. Soli did get some, just not enough to hit 10.
No.
So those couple of seconds per skull add up to 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah, easily.
And,
especially because some of them you have to go out of your way for. Like maybe the first 10 to 20 are usually pretty easy, but at some point to get 30, you're going to have to make a decision actively to go for it, rather than just pick them up on the way. Which, you know, again, that comes down to optimal skull routing, and some people are better at that than others. Marco couldn't have routed them any better, I don't think. I think he's pretty efficient with 30 skulls that he does have. But it just turned out that 10% chance of needing them in water was what was really hoping for.
Yeah.
So finding it on the last of all the checks in water as well was quite something.
Yeah. I will say, like, I think there is one play in particular on Soli's side that I was like, that feels too aggressive, which was skipping the slingshot room in Deku Tree.
Yeah. That was very aggressive play for sure.
But we're talking 20, 30 seconds there. Like, that's a minor difference. And Marco skipping Domain and River for 2.5 hours is also a very risky play. And,
it is.
You know, a lot of the time, the nature of a randomizer is it's random. You can't just do the best play every time and expect to win every single time. They both took gambles. And in this situation, I think Soli's worked out and Marco's cost him.
Yeah, I think it's just the decisions. Like Gavin Chatter's got a good point. Was saying that, well, actually, like mathematically, these were the correct plays if you think.
Yeah.
But
100%.
in a losers bracket race, you know, going for the thoroughness of Marco, who will then rely on his execution to, you know, make up the time for the thoroughness, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's really interesting the way they approached the seed, both of them. They both approached it in such different ways. And to be a minute and a half or so behind at the end, that's impressive.
Yeah, and there it is. Soli finished
GG's.
59.09.
What a race. What a race.
Yeah, this was really, really fun. Again, just two very contrasting styles, two very contrasted players, and really put on a show for us. Obviously, chat, make sure you are following both of these runners. They are both incredible players of the game, and a lot to learn from each of them for anyone who's getting into this.
Oh yeah, and you know, as watchers and runners, both you and I, since for a very long time now, still seeing new strats all the time from Soli we've not seen before. Yeah, I loved it. I really loved this race. It was brilliant. Here's Marco. So close. Literally so close. The blue fire probably would have made it much closer, but I think Soli probably had enough of it. Probably had enough. And there it is. GG's to Marco as well. And so yeah, if you took the odds, the good odds on Soli winning, you get a nice big payout from the Marco fans. Marco fans in shambles right now.
I was going to say,
for the bet.
yeah, I was going to say like the 1 minute 9 second difference, but I think it was put better in chat as 69 seconds
69
between them.
It had to be. What a perfect way to end a perfect seed.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And an anonymous gifter giving 5 subs to the community for that. That's fantastic. Whoever you are, thank you so very much. Got to get those subs in there. Fantastic. Brilliant.
So,
we will not be getting either runner in for an interview after this one, which I think is fair enough. This race has really been something for both runners, and yeah. So we're not going to have a quick chat. We're not going to have a chat with them. I think that's fine. Let them go, calm down. You know, maybe go to the restroom, take a breath, think about what they've done. So I guess we can sort of summarize the seed quickly and then shout out to everybody. And what else can you say apart from what a fantastic seed it was? In fact, here's Tobias. Hello, Tobias, who took over on restreaming towards the end.
Yes, I did. But go on ahead and take a look back through the seed for us. I think let's spend a minute to take a quick retrospective on what the heck was going on with this seed. Such a close race. Good grief.
Oh, for sure, it was quite crazy. Quite honestly, one of the best seeds that I've seen so far this season, and I've seen a lot of them. There's been a lot of good races, and I'm super hyped for this one. So.
Yeah, it just kind of took off from the start. Just a ton of information thrown at us early. Very obvious all dungeons immediately when you start with a stone and see Deku and Dodongo's cavern. You're like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm just doing everything here. But a ton of items that they kind of split the difference on that looked like it was working out in Marco's favour, but just never quite got to River. And Soli did get to... Richard was the big one.
Yes. Yeah, just not quite the time of day there. Little things as well, like not time of day to get the bow straight away. It didn't really cost him because he came back and got it. But I think for me the big one really was for deciding early on. I'm going to go for skulls. I'm confident in my skull routing. I'm going to get 30. I'm going to get those iron boots. Realistically, it was an incorrect decision, even mathematically incorrect decision. But perhaps Marco's sort of seen enough, played enough seeds by now to have been stung by the central pillar enough that he felt that it was worthwhile to go for those 30. And since it was just a minute as well towards the end, Soli going and getting the blue fire for ice right at the end, I think, was another big decision.
Definitely saved a lot of time.
Got him just enough time. Even then, Marco managed to make a little bit of time back overall. And amazingly close, really. It shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been this close. But... and that was no fault of Soli's either. That's just the skill of Marco, basically. Just execution. But it's an amazing result for Soli. This is a huge upset. That Marco is now out of this tournament and loses bracket round 2 even.
I think that's I'll double check to make sure I'm not wrong with this, but I want to say Marco's been in every tournament since season 1.
Champion in season 2, runner up in season 3, always goes far.
Yeah, the lowest finish Marco had before this was joint 7th in season 1.
Amazing. There you go, you see. He's such a strong player.
This is joint 33rd this season. So really goes to show, obviously there's variance in all the seeds, but more than anything, it goes to show just how good the community is getting and just how much people are really pushing people to keep improving, keep stepping up that game.
We've got more players playing than ever, and I think that really is boosting the competition all the time.
And we should emphasize, that is not through any fault of Marco's. That is not through Marco suddenly losing skill level or anything like that. This is literally the community getting so much closer together in terms of their skills and their experience and how often these upsets happen.
I guess the other thing to say here is we do know that Soli's next opponent, this was the last round 2 losers match, so we're already down a quarter of the players in this tournament. Oh, sorry. We're down to a quarter of the players left in this tournament, or under that now. So we do know that Soli's next matchup will be up against Louis fans. Taking down the mainstay of the French community, and now moving on to the Brazilian community next.
I mean, keep on going. That's all we can say. I'm so impressed by Soli's play. I've got to go back and rewatch Ravon. just to look at the new things I've learned. That's how good it was. So, deserves to go through for sure.
There are no easy matchups in the Season 6 tournament, and this has proven it once again. But I think with that, it is time to call it for the day, right?
Seems good to me, yeah.
Alright, then, one final time, thank you so much to everyone who made this restream possible. Thank you to our runners, Soli and Marco. Go ahead and follow them here on Twitch. They put out awesome content on the regular, and they deserve your time. They deserve your follow. But one more thing, if you feel like volunteering and helping making these Zelda Speedruns restream happen, then ZSRBot just posted a link in the chat where you can sign up to help all this stuff happen and take a look behind the curtain. Behind the curtain today were our wonderful trackers. And if ZSRBot tells me their names, that'll be Aisling and Palm, who did a great job keeping us informed of what the heck was going on with this race. In front of the curtain, obviously, were our wonderful commentators, Ginger, Sonny, and Yoshikyon. Thank you so much for keeping us entertained over 3 hours. It was wonderful.
Our pleasure. Well, my pleasure anyway, I assume.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Thank you also to our Suna, our race monitor, and also the restreamer for the French restream. And finally, thank you, dear viewers, all of you, for watching, and take care, everyone. What's next on Zelda Speedruns? Well, the schedule is looking kind of empty right now, because as Yoshi said, that was the end of lower bracket round 2, and everyone seems to be taking a little bit of a breather. The next races on the schedule are Wednesday, February 15th, 2 a.m. UTC, or that is still Tuesday, February 14th, 9 p.m. Eastern, the Zelda 2 Randomizer Max Rando Weekly. And on Friday, 2 a.m., February 17th, that is, or 9 p.m. February 16th, Thursday, in Eastern Time, that is Zelda 2 Randomizer Standard Weekly Race. Is the next 2 races on the schedule, but if you want to stay informed, because of course it might also happen that races get announced with pretty short lead time, then check out the schedule that ZSRBot just posted in the chat. Other than that, thank you all for watching. We will see you soon on ZSR. Now let's say hi to Netherian and cheer him on, fellow community member, as he makes his way through the Triforce Blitz seat of the day.
Excellent. How exciting. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.